Just arrived at the dormitory. Sun Lanying walked toward me holding a box of chilled pineapple. Shueching, you came just in time. We're having some fruit. Have a few bites to cool off. I paused mid-step, my fingers instinctively tightening around the materials in my arms. In my previous life, it was also at this moment. I just got back from the library and was surrounded by the three of them, being persuaded to eat pineapple. I clearly said I'm allergic to pineapples, and I also warned the uncle selling at the school gate that his food wasn't clean. He once used a knife that had just been used to cut a plantar wart to slice fruit, but Sun Lanying cried bitterly, feeling wronged. Zhao Yuzhen called me pretentious. Su Xiaoyun said I was ungrateful. Finally, in order to avoid trouble, I ate a small piece. That piece of pineapple became the beginning of my nightmare. Later, Zhao Yuzhen and Su Xiaoyun were found to be infected with a sexually transmitted disease. Sun Lanying, fearing the truth would be revealed, falsely accused me of bringing men back to the dormitory and deliberately spreading the disease. They spread malicious rumors about me on the forum, forced me to give up the first authorship of my paper, and then cornered me in the stairwell when I was about to call the police. During the scuffle, I fell from the third floor, and the back of my head hit the edge of the steps. In my dying moments, I saw Sun Lanying crouching beside me, laughing softly. By Shueching, what does it matter how well you study? Those who can't behave properly deserve to be trampled to death. When I opened my eyes again, I was back at the moment she was walking toward me with a pineapple. I glanced down at my phone. The recording was already on. In this life, I will never eat anything she hands me again. I will never again be a doormat or a saint who easily gives in. When I walked in with the documents, Zhao Yuzhen and Su Xiaoyun were sitting on chairs, eating pineapple while scrolling through their phones. The pineapple on the table was chopped into tiny pieces, with salt water still clinging to the edges. Sun Lanying smiled warmly, as if she were genuinely inviting me to a meal, but I had just been to the fruit shop at the school gate a moment ago. The shopkeeper himself said that both watermelons and pineapples had sold out, and he wouldn't restock until later. The only one still selling pineapples at the school gate is that sloppy street vendor. I once saw him use the same knife to cut plantar warts, trim fungal nails, and then slice fruit for students. What's even more disgusting is that last month, when I went to the hospital for a skin allergy, I saw him at the entrance of the dermatology and venereology department. At the time, he was scratching his leg and complaining to the doctor. The old problem has flared up again. I took half a step back, avoiding the skewer Sun Lanying handed me. No, thanks, I'm allergic to pineapple. Zhao Yuzhen rolled her eyes. Such a drama queen, a little sore throat and you call it an allergy. Only if you faint or die after eating it can it be called an allergy. I can't stand these green tea bitches who claim to be allergic to everything. Su Xiaoyun also chimed in. Exactly, Lanying kindly bought the fruit. Who are you making that face for? She went all the way to the school gate under the scorching sun to get this. Sun Lanying held up a piece of pineapple, her eyes reddening instantly. Shueching, please just take a bite. It's been soaked in salt water, so it won't hurt your throat. I didn't answer. I just came back from the fruit shop, and the owner said they were out of pineapples. Where did you buy this box of pineapples? Sun Lanying's tears instantly fell. I was the one who bought the last one. She looked at me with a grievance. Although I don't have as much scholarship money as you, I'm not so poor that I can't even afford a pineapple, am I? Shueching, do you think I'm poor and suspect me of stealing? I let out a cold snort. I asked you where you bought it, and you're bringing up stealing yourself. What? Feeling guilty, Zhao Yuzhen suddenly stood up. Shui Baiqing, don't go too far. Lanying kindly invited you to eat fruit, and you still accuse her of stealing. I placed the documents on the table, my tone cold. I didn't say she stole anything. I just reminded you that the street vendor at the school gate isn't clean. The knife he used to cut pineapples had been used to cut plantar warts and onychomycosis. I've also seen him in the dermatology and venereology department. Zhao Yuzhen and Su Xiaoyun's faces instantly changed. Both of them looked down at the half-eaten pineapple in their hands, feeling their stomachs churn in unison. Su Xiaoyun nearly threw the pineapple away. Lanying, this can't really be from that uncle, can it? Sun Lanying cried even harder. How could it be? That uncle is so sloppy. Of course I knew not to buy from him. She took out her phone and quickly opened the payment records. The screen clearly displayed the payment information from the fruit shop at the school gate. Zhao Yuzhen immediately breathed a sigh of relief, then turned to scold me. See, it's your mind that's dirty, seeing filth in everything. Coming from the countryside myself, I've never seen anyone offer to buy fruit for others, so I thought they must have ulterior motives. Looking at that payment record, I felt not the slightest bit of relief. In my previous life, I was Deceived by this very payment record, it was only later, when the police reviewed the complete surveillance footage, that I learned Sun Laniying had indeed made the payment at the fruit shop, but she bought bananas and apples. After paying, she insisted on pestering the boss for a cash refund, then used the cash to buy sliced pineapple from the uncle. This way, she could leave fake evidence of fruit store payment in her phone. I withdrew my gaze and said calmly, "Eat it if you like it, I've already reminded you, if something goes wrong later, don't come crying to me." After saying that, I sat back down in my seat and continued organizing the materials. Xiao Yuzhen gritted her teeth in anger. Sun Laniying suddenly spoke softly, "Shueching, are you still angry? How about I buy you some other fruit? As long as you let me join your study group, I'll buy you whatever you want to eat. Here it comes." I looked up at her. In this life, I already knew the real purpose behind her asking for fruit. Our group paper for this course accounts for 40% of the final grade. Sun Laniying's usual grades are at the bottom, already on the verge of failing. As long as she could secure a high-ranking author position in the high-scoring group, she would be guaranteed success. In my previous life, she used this box of pineapples to manipulate Zhao Yuzhen and Su Xiaoyun into standing up for her, forcing me to leave the original group and letting her join the paper-writing team. Later, she did nothing at all, yet demanded first authorship. When I refused, they started tormenting me in the dorm. This time, I won't give her an opening. I refused directly. I'm not the team leader, I don't have the authority to add people, and even if I were the team leader, I still wouldn't add you. The dormitory instantly fell silent. Sun Laniying's tears even paused for a moment. Zhao Yuzhen slammed the table. "By Shueching, what do you mean? Laniying just wanted to learn from you. Is it necessary for you to look down on people like that?" I look at her. "If you want to learn, you can go to the library, ask the teacher, or look up information yourself. Trying to get your name on someone else's paper isn't called learning, it's called taking advantage." Su Xiaoyun frowns. "We're all roommates. Do you really have to say something so harsh?" Ranning didn't say anything about being the first author either. Sun Laniying immediately lowered her head, her voice as soft as if she had suffered a great injustice. "I don't need to be the first signatory, the second one is fine." I almost laughed out loud, doing nothing, yet still feeling wrong that I only got second place. I retorted, "Then why don't you three team up and put her in first place?" Xiao Yuzhen's face stiffened for a moment. Su Xiaoyun fell silent as well. Sun Laniying bit her lip. "But our grades aren't as good as yours." I nodded. "So you know you can't do it, and you still want me to do it. Then the three of you take the front, and I take the back. Do you think I'm a good student, or do you think I'm not smart, too?" Zhao Yuzhen's face turned completely dark. "Don't think you're superior just because you have good grades." I slammed my phone onto the table, the recording still continuing. "I've never looked down on anyone because of their grades, but I look down on those who gain without effort and still feel justified." Sun Laniying began to cry again. "Shueching, I really didn't mean it that way. I'm just too afraid of failing the course. My parents favor boys over girls, and even though our family's financial situation is okay, they're unwilling to pay for my retake fees. I'm not like you, so outstanding that you win scholarships every year." She cried while making herself sound pitiful. "In my previous life, I hated her behavior the most, yet I always feared others would call me cold, so each time, the words were never spoken definitively. Now I won't do that anymore. If you fail a course, just retake the exam. If you still don't pass the retake, then retake the course. Your life shouldn't be determined by my thesis." Xiao Yuzhen rushed over, trying to snatch my materials. I raised my hand to block her, saying coldly, "Think twice before touching my things. My computer and data are backed up. If you destroy them, I can report it to the police or file a complaint with the college." She paused, her face turning red with embarrassment. Su Xiaoyun muttered quietly, "Is it really necessary? Just a few words and you're calling the police?" I looked at her. "If it's not that serious, let her be the first author and you write the paper." Su Xiaoyun immediately fell silent. I packed the materials into my bag and prepared to leave the dorm. When I reached the door, I turned back to look at the box of pineapples on the table. "One last reminder, you can keep eating if you want, I won't stop you, but if you feel unwell afterward, go to the hospital immediately. Don't blame me for the consequences of your own stupidity." Zhao Yuzhen cursed under her breath, muttering something unpleasant. Sun Laniying lowered her eyes, her expression unreadable. I knew she wouldn't let it go that easily, but it doesn't matter. I'm waiting for her to make a move. In this life, I want her to leave evidence at every step. 3. After that day, the dormitory relationship hit rock bottom. Before, they would only occasionally make sarcastic remarks, bringing up my rural background. Now, they started targeting me openly. Xiao Yuzhen spilled a cup of water by my bedside, so I turned around and spilled a whole bowl of snail noodle soup by hers. Su Xiaoyun watched movies loudly in the middle of the night, and the next morning I played the Great Compassion mantra beside her bed. They called me crazy, so I directly printed out the dormitory management regulations of the college and posted them on the table. Mutual harm is acceptable. Whoever crosses the line first, I'll go straight to the counselor. Xiao Yuzhen was so angry she could have jumped up and down. Su Xiaoyun, on the other hand, was actually a little frightened. Sun Lanying, however, was the quietest of all. She still acted gently and sweetly every day, urging this one not to get angry and that one not to quarrel. But I know, the most venomous one is her. In my previous life, the person who truly ruined my reputation and life was not Xiao Yuzhen who charged ahead, nor was it Su Xiaoyun who was a fence-sitter. It was Sun Lanying, who always hid behind the scenes pretending to be innocent. So from that day on, I locked all my valuables in the cabinet. A small action camera was placed above the bed and desk, aimed only at her own area. I bring in and take out my toiletries every day. I leave nothing behind in the dorm that I can avoid. Even so, she still found a chance. That evening, as I was getting ready to take a shower and picked up the towel, I suddenly caught a whiff of an unusually foul smell. There was a patch on the towel that was neither completely dry nor fully wet. It wasn't water, nor was it ordinary saliva. A buzzing sound rang in my head. In my previous life, I failed to leave any evidence here. I immediately turned against them, and Sun Lanning took advantage of the chaos to throw the towel into the river, leaving no evidence behind. This time, I suppressed the nausea in my stomach, put on disposable gloves, took photos first, then used scissors to cut off the most visibly soiled corner, sealing it in a plastic bag. Then, I walked over to Sun Lanying with the remaining bath towel. She was looking down at her phone, but her peripheral vision kept glancing at me. I directly covered her face with the bath towel and rubbed it hard a couple of times. Sun Lanying screamed, "By Xueqing, are you crazy?" She struggled to pull off the bath towel and rushed into the bathroom, desperately washing her face. Xiao Yuzhen and Su Xiaoyun were both startled. I stood still, watching her coldly. "It's just my towel. Why are you being so disgusting? Tell me, what's on it?" Sun Lanying's face turned pale. She opened her mouth to curse, but forcibly held back. "Smells terrible. Who knows what kind of dirty thing this is?" Su Xiaoyun immediately stepped back. "By Xueqing, you're really disgusting. You didn't actually bring a man back to the dorm, did you?" Xiao Yuzhen looked at Sun Lanying. "Lanying, were you about to say what that smell was just now?" Sun Lanying's eyes flickered for a moment. Then she quickly explained, "I've read a lot of books, so I know some basic physiological knowledge. It wasn't me. Anyway, I took out my phone and directly dialed the emergency number. Then let's call the police. If we send the substance on the towel for testing, we can find the person through DNA. Ask this person then, who asked him for it." Sun Lanying's face completely changed. "Don't call the police." She rushed over and tried to snatch the towel from my hand. I didn't stop her, because the real evidence was already inside the sealed bag. Sun Lanying grabbed the towel, rushed to the balcony, and threw it straight into the river below. The towel absorbed water and quickly sank. She turned around, and tears fell again. "I'm just afraid things will get out of hand and affect the school. Maybe I smelled it wrong. Xueqing, I'll buy you a new one. Let's just drop it." I slowly put away my phone, threw it pretty fast. Sun Lanning froze. I didn't continue. Now is not the time to close the net, for, after that day, I immediately went to find my counselor to apply for a dormitory change. The counselor looked troubled. "The dormitories are indeed tight. You'll have to wait until the next semester for a unified adjustment." I didn't get entangled. I know schools always try to downplay serious matters. In my previous life, I held back until the end to save money, and ended up losing my life. This time, I won't rely on others for my safety anymore. That night, during the group discussion, I wasn't in good shape. Qing Jian noticed it. "Xueqing, what's going on with you lately? You've made calculation errors 3 times. Su Ruxin also looked at me. "Did something happen at the dorm again?" I remained silent for a few seconds, then briefly recounted recent events. I didn't exaggerate, just stated the facts. After hearing it, Su Ruxin immediately frowned. "What's there to live in here? I've rented a 2-bedroom apartment off campus and was just looking for a roommate. You should move in with me." I hesitated a bit. "What about the rent?" Qing Jian immediately transferred several thousand yuan to me. "Take your time repaying it." I looked at him. "He is my cousin. After my parents divorced, I had little contact with my mother's relatives, and I wasn't particularly close to Qing Jian either, but at crucial moments, he is far more reliable than those so-called roommates. Su Ruxin grabbed my hand. Money can be earned later, but safety is not something to gamble with. I've seen too many news stories online about roommates harming others, putting hair removal cream in shampoo, needles and pillows. Adding strange things to food. You already noticed something was off with the bath towel, so why stay? I didn't hesitate any longer. All right, I'll move. 5. When I returned to the dorm to pack my things, the three of them were chatting animatedly. As soon as they saw me, they immediately fell silent. Xiao Yuzhen had a ring of ulcers and herpes around her mouth, which looked even worse than a few days ago. She was still eating the kiwi fruit Sun Lanying had handed her, grimacing in pain while cursing at me. Oh, you're back. I heard you didn't come home last night and moved in with a man. Su Xiaoyun also sneered along, stealing someone else's boyfriend, yet still pretending to be a top student with high morals. I ignored them. I only packed my books, clothes, and computer, toiletries, towels, cups. I didn't bring a single one. These things have been here before, and I find them dirty. Sun Lanying whispered softly. Xueqing, are you moving out? We're all roommates. How ugly it is to make such a scene. I looked up at her. Don't worry, things will get even uglier than this. The smile on her face froze for a moment. I looked at Xiao Yuzhen's mouth. Instead of scolding me, you should go to the hospital for a checkup. These blisters and ulcers in your mouth don't look like ordinary inflammation. Xiao Yuzhen exploded directly. Shui Baiqing, how dare you curse me to get a dirty disease? I pulled my suitcase and walked out. I'm not cursing you, I'm just reminding you. You'd better check now, or you'll regret it later. Her angry shouts came from behind. I didn't look back. The moment I stepped out of the dormitory building, I took a deep breath. The dorm room that had trapped me in my previous life, starting today, it will never hold me back again. 6. After moving out, my condition quickly improved. The group paper is progressing smoothly. Qing Jian is responsible for data modeling, Su Ruxin for the questionnaire and formatting, and I am in charge of the theoretical framework and main manuscript. Another group member, Lu Ming, is responsible for the literature review. Everyone is doing their part, and no one is taking advantage. Our group's performance has basically secured the top spot. Meanwhile, Xiao Yuzhen, Su Xiaoyun, and Sun Lanying's group could hardly submit a decent first draft. The looks they give me are growing increasingly gloomy. I know they are getting desperate. Sure enough, 3 days later, a hot post appeared on the school forum. The title read, exposing a bizarre roommate. A top student pretends to be pure, but is actually dirty and mean behind the scenes, and even meddles in others' relationships. The post didn't directly mention my name, using B instead, but the hints were too obvious. From the countryside, good grades, moved out of the dorm, living with boys from the study group. They almost posted my ID number. The post said I had originally promised to team up with them, tricked them into buying fruit and organizing materials, then turned on them because I didn't like pineapples, and ended up joining the top-ranked group instead. He even said I deliberately dirted the towel and threw it in Sun Lanying's face. What's even more outrageous is that he claimed I interfered in the relationship between Qing Jian and Su Ruxin, stole Qing Jian's money, and was kept by him. The accompanying photo was a shot of Qing Jian helping me move. Taken from behind, Su Ruxin was originally in the photo next to him, but she was deliberately cropped out. The comments section quickly exploded. I think I know who B is. I've seen her at the library. She does look quite innocent. Didn't expect her to be so wild. Even top students need money. Being supported is normal. Isn't the most disgusting thing being the one who interferes in a couple's relationship? Such people don't deserve to be recommended for graduate studies. I took screenshots of each post one by one. When the comments exceeded 500, I smiled. In my previous life, I was so panicked that I lost all composure, constantly explaining and crying, which only made people say I had a guilty conscience. In this lifetime, I will do only one thing, preserve evidence. I saved all the posts, comments, and reposts, and contacted the platform's backend to have the evidence preserved. Then, I went to the fruit shop at the school gate. The boss was initially unwilling to let me see the surveillance footage. I said directly, I lost my wallet in the store that day. If you don't let me see it, I'll call the police. By then, the police might also look into how you cut the fruit and pass off inferior quality as good, and the whole school will know. The boss's expression turned grim, but he eventually pulled up the video from that day. He emphasized, you can only watch it, no copying. I nodded. The action camera pinned to my chest had already recorded the entire scene. In the video, Sun Laning was indeed buying something at the fruit shop, but she bought bananas and apples after paying. She claimed she had bought the wrong item and insisted on getting a cash refund from the shop owner. The boss was impatient and finally refunded the cash to her. Later, another camera angle captured Sun Laneying walking up to the vendor at the school gate. The old man was bent over, scraping a hard patch of skin on his foot with a knife. Sun Laneying stood by for a moment, then pointed at the pineapple on the cutting board and asked him to cut it into smaller pieces. That knife had not been washed. After watching the video, my heart grew cold and hard. In my previous life, I did not die unjustly. Sun Laneying was never just ordinarily narrow-minded from the start. She genuinely wanted to harm me. 7. The forum's popularity grew increasingly heated. The counselor called me to her office, speaking in a relatively calm tone. Student by, although the post didn't name you directly, everyone has guessed it was you. You need to be mindful of the impact. I immediately pushed the evidence folder in front of her. Teacher, I'm ready to call the police. The post has over 10,000 views and more than 500 comments. This is no longer just an ordinary conflict between classmates. The counselor was taken aback. I continued, I won't accept private mediation for something I haven't done. If the school asks me to let things go, I will include the school's inaction in my police report. The counselor's expression changed. Don't get excited yet. The school will definitely handle it. I nodded. I'll wait for the school to handle it, but I won't wait too long. After leaving the office, I didn't immediately post a clarification. I wanted them to say a little more. The more evidence, the more painful the counterattack. That evening, I returned to the dormitory. The ulcer on Zhao Yuzhen's mouth had worsened, and red rashes began to appear around Su Xiaoyan's lips. Sun Laneying stood behind them, her face a shade paler than before. Zhao Yuzhen saw me and smiled triumphantly. What? Here to beg us to delete the post? Sun Laneying spoke softly. Xueqing, as long as you apologize to us and let us reference your group's paper, we can delete the post. I turned on the voice recorder on my phone and slipped it into my coat pocket. To what extent do you want to reference it? Sun Laneying lowered her head. We won't take it for free, we just want to use it as a reference. Zhao Yuzhen was much more direct. Let us use your paper, and also, list Laneying as the first author. Kneel down and apologize to us again, and we'll let this go. Su Xiaoyan stood by, saying nothing. She was clearly afraid, but still didn't dare to step forward and object. I looked up at them. Do you know this is called extortion? Zhao Yuzhen sneered. Stop trying to scare me. If you don't pay, we'll keep exposing more. By then, not only will your thesis be at risk, but your student status as well. I laughed. All right, carry on. After saying that, I turned and walked away. Behind me, Zhao Yuzhen was still cursing. Stop pretending. Sooner or later, I'll make you kneel down and beg us. I saved the recording now. All the evidence is in. 8. The next day at noon, I posted a clarification. The title was simple. I am by Xueqing. Regarding the trending forum post, I have responded point by point and have already reported it to the police. The main text does not seek sympathy, only facts are listed. First, the group paper. I formed a group with Qing Jian, Su Ruxin, and Lu Ming from the beginning, and there are screenshots of all time records, library check-ins, chat assignments, and initial draft versions. The three of them never participated in any of the material organization for my group. The claim that I used them to collect materials is entirely fabricated. Second, the towel incident. I have attached the video. In the footage, Sun Laneying's reaction behind the towel was extremely abnormal, and after I suggested calling the police to test the DNA, she immediately snatched the towel and threw it into the river. I also attached a photo of the sealed bag. She thought she had thrown away all the evidence, but I had already preserved the contaminated portion and am preparing to send it for testing. Third, the so-called interference in relationships. I directly uploaded the household registration proof of family relationship and chat records. Qing Jian is my cousin. Su Ruxin is his girlfriend and also my roommate. The so-called cohabitation was me moving in with Su Ruxin due to dormitory safety issues. The transfer was the moving rent my cousin lent me. The original photo that was cropped out has also been included. In the photo, Su Ruxin is standing right next to me, still holding luggage in hand. Finally, I have attached a screenshot of the legal consultation. I will pursue all matters of rumor-mongering, defamation, and extortion. Less than half an hour after the post was published, the forum exploded. Now this is what you call having both reason and evidence. The previous post was all made-up stories, but this one is all evidence. The top student is too calm. I would have been furious long ago, calling the cousin a sugar daddy and cutting out the sister-in-law. That's just too malicious. The part with the towel made me physically uncomfortable. Sun Laneying's reaction was clearly off. The three quickly deleted the original post. Unfortunately, it was too late. I had already preserved the evidence. In the afternoon, Sun Laning posted an apology video. She sat in the dormitory, her eyes red and swollen, her voice choked with emotion. "I'm sorry, everyone, posting that was an impulsive decision on our part, but I really didn't do those things, but it's also true that she usually looks down on us and excludes us. I just wanted to join her study group, but she refused and said we were dreaming, and deserved to fail. I was so angry I spat a little on her towel, just a little spit, not anything dirty, please forgive us." The comments section has indeed started to split. She admitted to spreading rumors, so what's there to defend? But bullying based on intelligence really hurts. Should someone be mocked just because they're not good at studying? By Shueching is being a bit aggressive too. Everyone's classmates. Why go to the police? That's exactly the drop of spit I've been waiting for. I'm reposting. This time, I'm only sharing one video. It's the recording and footage from yesterday in the dorm, when they forced me to hand over my paper and kneel down to apologize. Zhao Yuzhen's statement, "If you don't give it, I'll make sure you lose your student status," couldn't be clearer. Caption, "This is not a conflict between classmates, it is extortion. The police report receipt will be released later." 9. This time, no one spoke up for them anymore. The three of them finally panicked. They ran to the classroom door and blocked me. Su Xiaoyun was the first to cry and kneel down. "Shueching, you can't call the police. If you do, the three of us are finished. I'll promise you anything. Please don't call the police." The surrounding students immediately closed and Zhao Yuzhen had lost her previous arrogance, her lips hurting so much that her words were mumbled. "We've deleted the post and apologized. What else do you want?" Sun Laning stood at the back, but her eyes were still calculating. I looked at Zhao Yuzhen and Su Xiaoyun. "I can hold off on telling you about calling the police for now." Their eyes lit up. I continued, "But I suggest you both go report it to the police yourselves." Su Xiaoyun was stunned. "Why should we report it? I sent the surveillance video from the fruit shop to their WeChat. Take a look at this first." Sun Laning's face instantly changed. She rushed over to snatch the phone. Su Xiaoyun quickly hugged her. "What's the rush?" Zhao Yuzhen had already opened the video. In the footage, Sun Laning withdraws cash from a fruit shop, then goes to a street vendor to have a pineapple cut. The vendor's knife had just touched a foot. The cutting board was so dirty that the original color was unrecognizable. At the end of the video, there was complete silence at the classroom door. I pointed to the ulcer on Zhao Yuzhen's mouth. "I warned you last time, but you didn't listen. That uncle, I've seen him at the dermatology and venereology department. The pineapple you're eating was probably cut by that knife." Su Xiaoyun's face turned deathly pale as she covered her mouth. Retching, Zhao Yuzhen suddenly turned her head to look at Sun Laning, her eyes red with anger. "Didn't you say you bought it at the fruit shop?" Sun Laning turned and ran away. Zhao Yuzhen and Su Xiaoyun immediately chased after her. "I didn't stop them. Some accounts don't need me to handle them personally. They'll settle them themselves." 10. Zhao Yuzhen and Su Xiaoyun went to the hospital. Because the two of them made such a scene at school, some curious students followed them all the way. Not long after, a secretly taken photo of the test results appeared on the forum. Treponema pallidum antibody positive. Both of them were positive, although further verification is still needed. This is enough to cause a huge uproar throughout the school. No wonder she likes spreading lewd rumors. Her inspiration actually comes from herself. Chilling to think about. What if Bai Shueching had eaten that box of pineapples? Would she have been affected too? Sun Laning has gone beyond being bad. This is outright criminal behavior, right? She had originally gone for Bai Shueching, but those two greedy ones ate first. That night, Zhao Yuzhen and Su Xiaoyun blocked Sun Laning. 3 people were fighting in a mess at the dormitory building. The video was posted on the forum. Zhao Yuzhen straddled Sun Laning, hitting her while crying and cursing. "I treated you so well, and you betrayed me. You knew that thing was dirty, yet you still made me eat it." Sun Laning, driven to desperation by the beating, finally revealed her true nature. "It was originally bought for Bai Shueching to eat. Who made you so greedy that you had to eat?" Zhao Yuzhen trembled with anger. "You insisted we eat. You said it was to thank us." Sun Laning shouted back. "What's good for me?" "Zhao Yuzhen, you're a pervert. You peeked at me while I was bathing, insisted on scrubbing my back, and even wanted to share a bed with me at night. Who cares about your disgusting kindness?" Su Xiaoyun stood nearby, her face growing increasingly twisted. She suddenly picked up a stone from the ground, smashing it against her hand to draw blood. Then, with the blood-stained stone, She fiercely hurled it at Sun Lanying. Sun Lanying let out a scream and fell to the ground. The sound of police sirens soon rang out. An ambulance also arrived. Someone in the video reminded the doctor, "Doctor, be careful. They might all have infectious diseases." I stood at a distance, not approaching, not out of fear, but out of disgust. 11. A few days later, I received a call from the police asking me to come in and assist with the investigation. Only after arriving did I learn that Zhao Yuzhen and Su Xiaoyun had taken the original surveillance footage from the school gate to the police, accusing Sun Lanying of intentionally spreading a sexually transmitted disease. The police had also located the street vendor uncle. The uncle looked completely indifferent. "Yeah, that female student, when she came to buy pineapples. I was cutting a plantar wart on my foot. I said the knife was dirty, so I told her to buy a whole one and cut it herself at home. She insisted I cut it and said there's no need to wash the knife. How can this be my fault? The customer requested it." The police officer's face turned dark. "Just this once." The uncle thought for a moment. "Not just that, she's come several times, and sometimes she asks if I can sell other things." The police then asked about the towel incident. The uncle scratched his head. "Oh, she did buy that stuff from me. She gave me $200. I thought she needed it herself. It's not illegal anyway, right?" The female officer beside me took a deep breath, her gaze on me filled with lingering fear. I handed over the towel sample I had kept. The test results came back quickly, matching the DNA of the old man. Sun Lanying could no longer clear her name. The female officer saw me off at the door and whispered, "Fortunately, you didn't eat it. Pineapple is inherently irritating to the mouth, and if contaminated, the risks are significant." I nodded. "What will her sentence be?" The female officer said, "Intentional injury, insult and defamation, extortion, plus maliciously spreading disease risk. Details depend on the court. Don't worry, she can't escape responsibility for what she's done." I smiled. "Thank you." As I walked out of the police station, the sun was shining brightly. I remembered the cruel laughter in my ears when I fell down the stairs in my previous life. In this lifetime, it was finally their turn to be afraid. 12. Zhao Yuzhen and Su Xiaoyun never returned to school. Some said they had transferred to another school. Some people said they dropped out of school. More people said there was a big commotion at their homes, with parents going to Sun Lanying's house every day demanding an explanation. The school also took action regarding the rumor-mongering incident on the forum. Zhao Yuzhen and Su Xiaoyun were given disciplinary records. Sun Lanying was expelled from school and transferred to judicial authorities. The paper I submitted successfully secured the top spot in the grade. The first author is me. The names of Qing Jian, Su Ruxin, and Lu Ming are listed in order of their contributions. The counselor later specifically asked me to talk, saying the school would arrange a new dorm for me. I refused. "No need, teacher, I'm doing fine where I am now." Su Ruxin's apartment is very clean. Qing Jian occasionally came to deliver meals, but he would always send a message to Su Ruxin in advance and never enter alone. The three of us got along very comfortably. There was no sarcasm, no late-night pranks. No one wants to take advantage of others' efforts for free. For the first time, I felt that normal interpersonal relationships could be so relaxing. Half a year later, Sun Lanying's verdict was handed down. Multiple charges, 8 years in prison. Zhao Yuzhen and Su Xiaoyun, as victims, received partial compensation, but they couldn't completely escape the consequences of damaging others' reputations and participating in extortion. The school's disciplinary records were placed in their files, making their future paths difficult. After the verdict, I went to visit Sun Lanying once, not because of a soft heart. I'm majoring in psychology, and my advisor happens to be working on a project related to antisocial personality and campus crime. I wanted to see with my own eyes whether she truly felt any remorse. In the visitation room, Sun Lanying had lost a lot of weight, her complexion ashen. She saw me, with no remorse in her eyes, only coldness. "What are you here for?" "To laugh at me," I calmly asked. "Why did you do this? None of us have offended you." She sneered. "You're good at studying, so you can help me easily. Is it really that hard for you to put my name first on the paper? You clearly have the ability, yet you're unwilling to lend me a hand." I looked at her. "So you want me to get a sexually transmitted disease?" She shrugged. "I never intended for things to get this big. I just wanted something to happen to you, so you couldn't attend the thesis defense." Who knew Zhao Yuzhen and Su Xiaoyun would be so greedy? She said it lightly, as if ruining others was just a joke. I asked again, "You hate Zhao Yuzhen, so why do you keep stringing her along, making her think you like her too?" Sun Lanying frowned. "She offered to help me of her own free will. I never forced her. You helping me is only what you should do. Who told you to live better than me?" Hearing this, I closed my notebook. There was nothing more to ask. Such people cannot be analyzed with ordinary logic. She wasn't unaware that hurting others was wrong, she simply doesn't consider others as human beings. Before leaving, she suddenly called out to me, by Shueching, if you could do it all over again, would you still refuse to eat that piece of pineapple? I turned to look at her and smiled, of course, and I would have called the police even earlier. Sun Laning's expression darkened completely. I no longer looked at her and turned to leave. The wind outside was refreshing. I took out my phone and saw a message from Su Ruxin. Let's have hot pot tonight. Qing Jian is treating us. I replied, eat, I want double shrimp paste. She replied instantly, arranged. I smiled and put away my phone. In my previous life, I died in the dark, damp stairwell of the dormitory building. In this life, I walk in the sunlight. For the rest of my life, I will keep moving forward. Whoever wants to harm me, I will make them pay the price. After hearing the first story above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Next, there is another similar story. Let's continue to see. To protect my mother from domestic violence, I accidentally killed my father. Because I was under 16, I was exempt from prosecution, yet my mother resented me for life. Every day, she would curse me bitterly, asking why I didn't have to go to jail and why the juvenile protection law would shield someone like me. They say your father is already lying underground. How can you have the face to keep living? Because of this, I fell into depression and attempted suicide when I was just 18. Given a second chance at life, I found myself back at the time when Dad was violently beating Mom. Late at night, the front door slammed with a thud. Dad was home. Mom joyfully stepped forward to greet him. 5 minutes later, the sound of shattering dishes came from the living room, followed by Mom's cries of pain from domestic violence. Dad started acting drunk, slurring his curses. You jinx, it's all your fault for dragging me down. I'll beat you to death. I knew Dad had lost money gambling again. He's a gambler, and whenever he loses money, he comes home drunk and starts abusing my mom. The sounds of beating and shouting in the living room grew increasingly violent. Even through the door, I could hear my mother begging for mercy, but my father ignored it and kept throwing punches. I don't know how he threw my mom, but my bedroom door slammed with a loud crash, and the lock was actually broken open. That's how I saw my mother's face. She collapsed on the ground, her forehead covered in blood. One eye was so swollen it couldn't open, with overlapping slap marks on her face, the flushed skin no longer showing its original color. Yet in her expression, there was only fear and pleading, not a trace of hatred or resentment toward my father. She saw me and frantically reached out. Judy, stop your dad quickly. Mom's bones hurt. My dad slurred his words as he cursed beside her. I'll beat both you mother and daughter together. Every time Mom got beaten before, I would rush out to protect her, enduring countless beatings myself as a result. The worst time, Dad swung a chair at me. My head was bleeding, and I was unconscious for several hours before waking up. But this time, I won't, because I've been reborn, carrying the lessons from my past life. On this very night in my past life, I watched as my mother was beaten by my father until she was barely recognizable. I tried to stop him several times but was beaten so badly I nearly passed out. In the end, I grabbed a fruit knife and rushed at him, but before I could even get close, he kicked me and sent me stumbling. Struggling, I fell toward my dad, and as luck would have it, the fruit knife plunged straight into his heart. I killed my father. Since it happened just a few months before my 16th birthday and was accidental, I was exempt from prosecution. I had thought that without my father, life for my mom and me would gradually improve. Little did she expect that losing her husband would become the deepest thorn in her mother's heart. Even though she remarried a wealthy local businessman a year later and was showered with his care and affection, she still couldn't let it go. She called me an ungrateful wretch, accusing me of killing my own father over a petty grudge. She even stormed the police station and court several times, demanding to know why the murderer wasn't jailed. Is the juvenile protection law just an umbrella for bad kids? She raged. No one could understand her way of thinking. Not getting a satisfactory answer from the government staff, Mom chose to come home and torment me. She cursed me with vicious words every day. Just as Dad had once abused her, she now abused me in the same way. I was just 18 when I finally jumped into the river due to severe depression. I once loved her deeply. During those years shrouded in the shadow of my father's domestic violence, I secretly vowed that once I gained the ability to stand on my own, would take my mother far away from this suffering. But as her slaps left my face covered in blood, and as I struggled to medicate myself during my illness while enduring her vicious insults, My love for her faded completely. Everything in the living room reminded me of my past life. The fruit knife that had once stabbed my father to death was placed on the living room coffee table. I clenched my fists so tightly that my fingernails even pierced my palms, but in the end, I held onto the door handle and, in front of my mother, firmly closed the bedroom door. Finally, it was the neighbor next door shouting outside, threatening to call the police if the noise from our house didn't stop, that put an end to this domestic violence. Outside the window, the night was so deep that not a trace of moonlight could be seen. Soon, the thunderous sound of Dad's snoring came from outside. I wonder what Mom is doing at this moment. Perhaps she thinks that Dad chose to stop rather than beat her to death, which means he still harbors some love for her. No matter what, Mom, in this life, I won't interfere with your path anymore. The road ahead will still be tough, but I can only accompany you this far. After waking up, the bloodstains and broken trash on the floor had already been cleaned up. During breakfast, Mom placed 2 boiled eggs and hot milk by Dad's side, while only a bowl of plain congee sat before each of us. Dad drank his milk while praising Mom for perfectly boiling the eggs to a soft, runny yolk, yet, his casual compliment genuinely delighted her, and she eagerly responded, "If you're home for breakfast tomorrow morning, I'll make them for you again." Dad snorted, "Tonight, I'm going to try my luck one more time. If I win, I'll be back tomorrow morning, and we'll have seafood for breakfast as a family. If I lose, well, forget about eating anything at all." He finished the last sip of milk and left as coolly as usual. For his violent actions last night, just like before, Mom didn't utter a single complaint, and Dad showed not a trace of remorse. As if by prior agreement, both of them seemed to have lost their memories simultaneously. I remember when I was little, after beating Mom, Dad would still cry bitterly and kneel in repentance, but after all these years of Mom's bottomless tolerance, he's lost even the last shred of guilt. The moment Dad stepped out, Mom's expression suddenly changed. Tears and mucus streamed down her face as she snatched the porridge I was eating and splashed it across my face. Pointing at me, she demanded, "Last night your father beat me half to death. Why didn't you come out to help me? How could you bear to watch me suffer like that?" The scalding porridge stung my face, but compared to the pain of her repeated slaps in my past life, this was nothing. Wiping my face dry with my sleeve, I replied calmly, "I'm only 15, how could I possibly fight him?" I took the phone from her hand and dialed 911 on it. "The police are more capable than I am, let them arrest my dad." The phone rang twice, before the call could be answered on the other end. My mom quickly hung up and immediately tried to hit me. "You ungrateful brat, you actually want to put your own father in jail. If he gets a criminal record, do you think you'll be fine? It'll affect your future civil service exams and job applications." I dodged her swinging slap and couldn't help but sneer coldly. She'd rather take a beating than blame my father. Still using the excuse of doing it for my own good, had I not lived through my past life, I might have truly believed she was concerned about my future. But, Mom, why don't you yearn for a better life? Dragged into the pitch-black night by that lump of mud you call my father, living in constant fear and apprehension, is this what you consider happiness? Those days when you didn't have to tread carefully, didn't have to endure beatings, could do whatever you wanted, didn't you like them? Oh, right. You didn't, because after you remarried, you got to live the happy life. Your stepfather indulges your every whim, bringing you gifts every day when he comes home. His 2 children are steady and mature, showing no hostility toward their stepmother whatsoever. You live in a villa, with servants attending to your every need, food, clothing, shelter, and transportation. Everything feels like an adult fairy tale that has stepped into reality, yet you remain melancholy, your heart still occupied by my father. Even your agreement to remarry was because your new husband resembled my father. What magic does love possess that makes you willingly abandon all other emotions in this world? I no longer intend to argue with Mom. I just told her, I want to live on campus and won't be staying at home anymore. Live on campus? I don't have the money, my mother scolded angrily. It's already good enough that you're allowed to attend high school, and now you're asking to live on campus. Where would this family get extra money to spend on you? The family indeed had no extra money to spend on me, because if there were even $10 to spare, my mother would set aside $9.90 for my father. The remaining dime had to be spent by the 2 of us together, but I wasn't short of money for boarding at school. Since I was 10, I secretly started collecting drink bottles and cardboard boxes to sell, planning to take my mom away once I saved enough, although I faced setbacks like my dad stealing the money or rats gnawing it all away. By now I've saved over $2,000 again, enough for me to board at school. I arranged for boarding school myself. When parental signatures were needed, I contacted my uncle. My uncle and aunt came quickly upon learning I was going to boarding school. They brought a silk quilt and a high-end bedding set from home. My aunt specifically went to the girls' dormitory to check out the living conditions, and even brought fruits and snacks for all my roommates, helping me build relationships in advance. Tears welled up in my eyes. My maternal grandparents and uncle haven't been in contact with us for many years. When I was little, my parents always told me that my maternal grandparents' family looked down on the poor and favored the rich, and that they despised our family. Later I learned that it was because Mom not only had to precisely assist Dad in poverty alleviation, but also dragged her own family into it. Grandma's family had once firmly supported Mom in divorcing Dad due to his domestic violence. But Mom refused them all. They went from anger to disappointment, and finally let go of Mom. I always thought they truly didn't care about us, until in my previous life when I accidentally killed my dad and was taken to the police station for investigation. My uncle showed up immediately. He lashed out at his mother, saying it was her weakness and inaction that not only failed to protect the child but also forced the child to protect her instead, nearly ruining his life. Later, my mother tried to alter my birth records to make me appear 16 years old, so I could face legal punishment. It was my uncle who stepped in and found the original documents, sparing me from prison. Seeing how unreliable my mother was, he initially wanted to transfer my guardianship, but at that time, I had just accidentally killed my father and was so terrified that I had nightmares every night. Even after how my mother treated me, I still instinctively felt safest by her side. The facts proved that my attachment to my mother had taken away my last hope for life. When the river water submerged my head, I felt only the relief of impending liberation. In this lifetime, I thought my heart had long grown hard, but standing once again before my uncle and aunt, receiving their affectionate concern, I cried uncontrollably. Having lived through my past life, I still yearn for familial love, yet I've come to accept the reality that in this life, I am not destined to have parents. My aunt wiped away my tears and held me in her arms. You were always laughing as a child, but now you're all teary-eyed as you grow up. She turned to discuss with my uncle, why don't we let Judy stay at home? We can take care of her meals and daily needs. It's better than living at school. I didn't accept my aunt's kindness. It wasn't because I was still foolishly attached to my mother in this life, but because my father was still alive. A gambler like him would definitely use it as an excuse to frequently come knocking for handouts if he knew my aunt and uncle had taken me in. I cannot let the few remaining relatives who care about me be implicated because of me. I must walk my own path alone. My uncle left me $1,000, reminding me to call him or my aunt anytime if anything happens. From beginning to end, he never asked a single word about my mother. He just warned me to study hard at school, not to lose my head over puppy love, and not to have my vision clouded by love too early. He hoped I wouldn't follow in my mother's footsteps. I won't. I started my boarding school life. I no longer have to stay up all night with my ears perked, worrying whether Dad would come home drunk, whether he would hit Mom again, or whether Mom would struggle to apply medicine alone if she was badly hurt. I no longer have to timidly pick only vegetables during meals, saving all the meat for my dad, or else risk a slap from him, and then have Mom scold me for provoking him. I no longer have to repeatedly wash the sheets soiled by Dad's vomit or urine, or scrub the clothes stained with blood from Mom's wounds. Now, I can focus all my energy on myself and devote all my time to studying. Perhaps it was because I lacked natural talent, or perhaps the long-term instability of my family environment affected my studies, but I only managed to get into City No. 2 high school, a school with mediocre teaching quality and student quality. In the midterm exams of the first semester, I ranked only 20th in my class and was in the bottom 300 of the entire grade. If I keep up this kind of performance, even getting into an ordinary university will be difficult. This meant that if I wanted my wings to grow strong enough to fly far in the future and break free from my family, I would have to put in much more effort. I want to truly take control of my own life, not just rely on making vows and tough talk. While my classmates were still enjoying the ease of their first year of high school, I was already preparing for the college entrance exams in advance. During the 10-minute breaks between classes, aside from going to the restroom, I always spent the time reviewing the lesson content. After school, when going to the cafeteria, I would always rush to get my food and then hurry back to the classroom. After finishing my meal in just 10 minutes, I would immediately dive back into studying. My desk mate is a carefree girl. Once, she asked me with great puzzlement, "Why do you keep yourself so tense? We're only in our first year of high school, in the prime of our youth. We should be enjoying it." Enjoying youth, I also know that youth is often associated with words like romance and flamboyant clothes and spirited horses, but there's always a voice in my ear reminding me, tired, want to rest, then you'll repeat the tragedy of your past life, dragged by your family of origin into an endless swamp, enjoying youth. No, I'm here to rewrite destiny. From Monday to Friday, I studied hard. When the weekend came and other classmates went home, I carried a sack out of campus to scavenge for recyclables on the commercial street to earn money. Not long ago, I applied for financial aid at school, but although I was penniless myself, I couldn't provide proof of family poverty. My mom has a job, and it's a government position. You can look it up with just one check. This means, forget about high school. I can't even apply for student loans for college. I have to start saving for my tuition in advance. Every single day of the weekend, I have to stay out for at least 15 hours, commercial streets, food streets, entertainment districts, wherever crowds gathered. I left my footprints. Every trash bin bore the marks of my sweat-soaked hands. By the end of each day, selling drink bottles and old cardboard would earn me at least $80. One weekend, when a music festival was held in the suburbs, I made a full $500 from collecting drink bottles, cardboard boxes, discarded clothes, and abandoned tents. I also waited at the spot for the owner after finding a lost phone and was forced to accept $200 as a thank you fee by the grateful owner. In the early hours of Monday, I happily returned to the city with $700 in my pocket, only to find the school gate already closed. Do you know what the streets look like at 4 in the morning, brightly lit? The ordinary working-class people, humble as ants, had already flooded the morning market, selling fruits, carrying heavy loads, and serving breakfast. Even though they were born far behind the starting line, they never gave up fighting against fate. I fell asleep on the steps and was drenched by a sudden downpour at 7 in the morning. By the afternoon, I collapsed on the sports field during PE class. On the way to the hospital in an emergency, I faintly heard the homeroom teacher calling my mom, Judy's mom. Go directly to the First People's Hospital now, we'll meet there. The 4 drip was removed, but my mom never showed up. At first, the homeroom teacher kept calling to urge her, but in the end, my mom stopped answering altogether. It's been over a month since I started boarding at school, and no one from home has come looking for me, as if I never existed in the first place. My father never cared about me. My mother always put my father first in everything. Without me distracting her attention, she could actually take better care of my father. I always thought that in my past life, it was because I accidentally killed my father that my mother was so deeply affected and treated me especially harshly. Lying on the hospital bed receiving an 4 drip this afternoon, I recalled my short 15 years of life from an outsider's perspective and realized that the maternal love my mother gave me had always been faint from the very beginning. The milk I drank as a child was actually the expired leftovers my father didn't finish. The chicken legs I ate as a child were actually the ones that fell to the ground and got dirty when my father threw a tantrum and smashed the bowl. Even the new clothes I wore as a child were the red outfits meant for the paper effigies used in rituals to change my father's luck after his long streak of losses. There were so many obvious signs, but I overlooked them all because I was young and naive. I simply thought the milk and chicken legs were things Mom couldn't bear to eat herself, so she saved them especially for me. I just assumed the new clothes were bought specially for me, with Mom risking Dad discovering her secretly saved pocket money. Those childhood warmth were merely a dream I created for myself. As I gradually grew up, it eventually shattered into pieces. Mom didn't come to the hospital, and since I had no expectations, I wasn't really sad. I just never understood. Since childhood, I've been beaten by my father countless times for defending her, even to the point of raising a knife against him, yet in her eyes, it meant nothing. While my father, a man who indulged in drinking, gambling, and violence, with looks that were hard to describe, would make her light up like it was the new year with just the slightest smile from him. Even after living 2 lives, this riddle remains forever unsolved to me. I returned the day's medical expenses to my homeroom teacher, not a penny more, not a penny less. Exactly the $700 I had earned from collecting trash over the weekend. The homeroom teacher didn't accept it. She was somewhat aware of my family situation and simply sighed for me, offering encouragement. Study hard, and firmly grasp the power to choose your own path in life. By the midterm exams in the second semester of my first year of high school, I had made a significant leap from 20th in the class to 5th, and my overall grade ranking improved from beyond 300 to 48th. This was an unprecedented progress in the nearly 2-year history of City No. 2 High School, where students typically enjoyed vibrant youth. Before the parent-teacher conference, the principal personally came to me insisting that my parents must attend, and even asked them to share their parenting experiences for other parents to learn from. How ridiculous, the efforts I made myself. This glory was to be claimed by my parents who never cared about me. The school has thousands of students, and the principal is unaware of my family's situation. The homeroom teacher was also in a difficult position. She quietly told me that it would be best to cooperate with the school so that the principal would remember me. That way, if there were any preferential policies or resources from the city in the future, they could be directed toward me. She suggested to me, just tell your mom that once you succeed, she can enjoy the benefits too. She doesn't understand my mom. My mom isn't the type who's keen on sucking blood. She's completely devoted to my dad and doesn't care about whether I'm good or bad. But I still went home. Appearances have to be kept up. At 3 in the afternoon, my mom was actually at home. She wasn't the only one at home. There were several aunties there too. I recognized these aunties. They were staff from the Neighborhood Women's Federation. My mother lay on the bed, her face bruised and swollen, her hair disheveled, with a bandage wrapped around her forehead. It seemed she had been beaten by my father again. She was actually quite beautiful, and it said that in her youth, she was the belle of the neighborhood. In my previous life, after my father died, there were even wealthy businessmen who pursued her passionately, largely thanks to her exceptional looks. Yet, every time she suffered domestic violence, her beauty was completely destroyed, leaving only foolishness behind. The women from the Women's Federation sat by the bed, all trying to persuade my mother. It was nothing more than the usual, leave the abusive man, and tomorrow will be better, kind of talk. How laughable it is. My mother used to work at the Women's Federation in the neighborhood office. She knew better than anyone how to rescue women and children from domestic violence, yet she couldn't convince herself. When she went to help women suffering from domestic violence, they ended up pitying her instead. The work simply couldn't proceed. As a result, she was later transferred to other marginal positions. With a master's degree that was highly valuable 20 years ago, she spent her entire career at the grassroots level. The women from the Women's Federation tried to persuade her with kind words, but my mother endured the pain and forced a smile, saying, "No one hit me. These are all from a fall on my way home from work yesterday." One straightforward auntie confronted my mother bluntly. "We live in the same building. Who was it that caused such a ruckus in the middle of the night yesterday?" The entire neighborhood knew my mother had endured domestic violence for over a decade. The Women's Federation came to mediate many times, but my mother refused them all. My mother was different from other women who suffered domestic violence. My maternal grandparents and uncle had some influence. As long as my mother stood firm, no matter how shameless my father was, there were ways to get the divorce, but she couldn't stand on her own. The aunties were at their wits' end with her. Seeing that I had returned, they urged me to talk some sense into her and stop her from getting stuck in a dead end. Perhaps this was just polite talk born of helplessness. I didn't stay behind and decided to leave with them. My mother called out to stop me from behind. When only she and I were left, she tremblingly fished out $50 from her pocket. She said, "Go buy half a Sweetwater duck. Your father loves this." This was truly the biggest joke. She was beaten to this state, yet still worried about what the murderer would have for dinner. I wanted to leave immediately and had already reached the door, but then turned back, took a mirror, and placed it in front of her. "Is it worth it, for such a worthless person? Look at what you've become." She raised her hand and slapped me. That feeble slap, without a hint of strength, yet it shattered the last bit of pity I had for her. She was panting with anger, but instead turned to question me. "How have you become so numb? Before, when you saw Mom get hurt, you would cry and hug me, you'd apply medicine and cook for me, but now, look at what you've become." The tilted mirror reflected my image. On my 15-year-old youthful face was written all the cynicism and bitterness of the world. Given a second chance at life, I no longer love my mother, yet I still grieve her misfortune and rage at her lack of resolve. There were no winners in this battle between my mother and me. I remembered my deskmate asking me why I didn't know how to enjoy my youth, because all my efforts were just to pursue the brightness that others could easily possess. In the end, it was still my uncle who came to the parent-teacher meeting for me. He stood on the podium, without fabricating any daily hardships of urging and teaching me. He only said that all my progress now was the result of my own efforts. As a parent, he hadn't shown much concern for my studies, and he felt deeply guilty. Afterwards, perhaps having learned from the homeroom teacher about my past illness, he sternly criticized me, saying such a big matter should have been reported to him. I wiped my dust-filled eyes and smiled, saying, "Got it." Before leaving, he glanced at me several times. I knew he was actually concerned about Mom. Finally, he blurted out, "If your dad ever beats your mom to death one day, remember to call your uncle to collect the body. I knew he said it in anger, but Dad wouldn't really kill Mom. He still depends on her salary to support him. I threw myself back into intense studying. My classmates were still enjoying life. On weekends, they either went to KTV to sing, formed teams to play games, tried escape rooms, or hiked to watch the sunrise. My deskmate invited me to join them. I could only politely decline. My deskmate said I was really no fun. I truly had no energy left. All my strength was exhausted between studying and collecting scraps. Like a pale outsider, I stood out awkwardly in this vividly colorful youth. Soon, the second semester of my first year of high school came to an end. By the end of the term, I had improved to second place in the class. The homeroom teacher called me to her office alone and handed me a stack of test papers. These were the first-year high school exam papers from No. 1 high school, which she had obtained through a college classmate who worked there. Take it back and try it when you have time. See how big the gap is between you and the students from No. 1 high school. I took the stack of test papers back to the dormitory and, without even stopping to eat, finished the math test first. I failed. The little confidence I had managed to build up was utterly crushed in the face of the city's best high school. The ridiculously low score seemed to mock me, proving I was never cut out for studying. My future remained empty, my life destined to be dragged down by my family, ending up just like my previous life. The remaining test papers felt like hot potatoes. I didn't even dare to touch them. I buried them at the very bottom of my suitcase and covered them with old clothes, as if out of sight meant out of mind. But I spent even more time studying, throughout the summer vacation, including breaks from part-time jobs. I read books whenever I had even a minute to spare, without teachers to answer my questions. I racked my brains alone but still couldn't solve problems I didn't understand. Without a phone to search online, I could only go to an internet cafe for 2 hours every other night, frantically searching for solutions to difficult problems and quickly copying them onto paper. Others go there to play games, but I go there to solve problems. After going a few times, a boy started frequently sitting at the computer next to me. He tilted his head to watch me write and always tried to strike up a conversation. I ignored him. Sometimes when I search for solutions to problems online, he laughs at me for being dumb, then quickly takes my paper and pen to write down the correct answer. He boldly asks me if I'd be willing to have a teenage romance with him in exchange for tutoring. I splash water all over his head. Later on, a group of troublemakers started harassing me. They surrounded me, calling me a study god. They egged me on to recite pi and the periodic table of elements. They asked if I wanted to test into Tsinghua or Lanxiang in the future. I quickly packed up my papers and pens, logged off the computer, and left the internet cafe with a stern face. The group of blonde-haired guys followed behind me, even starting to get handsy with me. The small alley leading to the school at night was sparsely populated, the streetlights casting a hazy yellow glow like thin mist. I was surrounded by the blonde-haired guys in the middle, like a sparrow about to be hunted by a flock of blackbirds. It was that boy who showed up midway and got into a fight with the blonde-haired guys. The hooligans were driven away. He was wounded on the head. After getting his wound bandaged at the emergency clinic, he still joked with me. I played the hero to save the beauty. Even if you won't pledge yourself to me, can't we at least hold hands? Though slender, he was tall and lanky, with a head of unruly natural curls and the handsome looks of a campus heartthrob. Mom once fondly recalled the moment she fell in love with my dad. It was on her way home from working late when she also encountered a group of troublemakers. A man appeared and fought off the bad guys for her. That man was my dad, who also got injured in the process. In my mother's youth, during her free time from studies, all the extracurricular books she read were about talented scholars and beautiful ladies. After prolonged immersion in these stories, she trampled career and responsibilities underfoot, while elevating love as her ideal. The moment my father rescued her, she fell into the whirlpool of love and couldn't extricate herself. Little did she know that the reason my father appeared on that road at night was because there was a gambling den nearby. Yet the usually timid man actually stepped in to save my mother, which could only be attributed to his youthful impulsiveness at the time and being captivated by my mother's beauty. My mother treats love as sacred scripture, but I despise love. A boy as handsome as the school heartthrob stood before me. Even though he had done me a favor, I felt not the slightest anticipation in my heart, only a deep, lingering annoyance at being pestered. I left all the $500 in cash I had on me for his medical treatment. Let him call the police if it's not enough. Carried away by the night breeze, I left him behind, shouting in astonishment, "Cash, are you from ancient times? Do you have WeChat? Let's add each other." I never went back to that internet cafe. Nor did I take that road again. The summer vacation was over. I gained not only $1,500 and well-worn textbooks, but also a stack of blank test papers. On the first day of the second year of high school, the homeroom teacher called me to the office after class. She asked me with a smile, "Have you done the test papers? What was your score?" I am a coward. I don't dare to do the test papers, nor do I dare to look into her expectant eyes. She kept asking me. And finally I mustered the courage to admit my weakness. She chuckled and called me to school on Sunday, giving me a whole day to finish all the subject test papers. It was already 10 p.m. by the time I finished the exam paper. The homeroom teacher still had to find extra time to grade the papers. In reality, it was only a 3-day wait, but each day felt like a year, and I couldn't eat a bite. I was dazed and lost, with no confidence in my heart, until the teacher stood before me with a smile, placing a stack of test papers marked in red on the desk. The scores marked on them were all above average. Even the math paper the teacher had specially retrieved for me showed a significant improvement in grades. She said, "I asked my colleagues, and with these results, you'd rank around 20th in your class and about 150th in the entire grade at No. 1 high school. Keep it up, and getting into a 985 university in 2 years won't be a problem." At that moment, the teacher reminded me so much of the police officer in my past life who had announced my acquittal. Their words were like the first spring breeze in late winter, making me sprout and eager to bloom. The tension that had gripped me all summer suddenly eased, and my legs wobbled, almost unable to steady myself. The teacher laughed even more heartily, patting my shoulder as she encouraged me, "Keep working hard, and in 2 years, you'll be completely transformed, reborn." Not long after the start of the second year of high school, in a test, I unsurprisingly became the top of my class and 10th in the entire grade. Later, by the end of my second year of high school, I even became the top student in my grade. I never dared to relax, because after every exam, my homeroom teacher would give me the test papers from the top high school in the city. These papers always showed me the gap between me and my ideal, giving me the motivation to keep striving. Another significant benefit of my improved grades was that I no longer had to collect trash to earn money. I could start tutoring middle school students. I finally got to make a living using my knowledge. Every winter vacation, my uncle would take me to his house. I was treated with sincere kindness by my aunt and cousin there, yet it only highlighted my own sense of inferiority. I yearn for familial affection, yet I shrink from it in fear. I have long grown accustomed to indifference and scolding, so prolonged warmth leaves me bewildered and at a loss. During that time, I only returned home twice, both times just to fetch clothes. The last time I went back, I ran into a real estate agent showing people around the house. Turns out my mom was planning to sell the house. "The property market has peaked now. Let's sell the old house first and rent a place. When the market drops, we can buy a bigger, newer one at a lower price." Her words sounded convincing, making her seem like an investment expert. "But the only reason we're selling the house now after all these years is because my dad lost big in gambling and needs to sell the house to cover the debt. The house was my mom's dowry back then. She wants to sell it, and I have no right to interfere. Anyway, I have no attachment left to this family." A neighbor nearby, half out of curiosity and half trying to persuade, said, "Aren't you leaving anything for Judy? She still needs to go to college. At least save up for her tuition." My mom sneered, "This daughter of mine is very capable. She managed to live in the dormitory for a year without asking for money from home. I think she's so resourceful that she might even get through college without spending a single penny." I didn't argue with her. I just wanted to ask her, doesn't she consider her own future and retirement at all? But then I felt like I was being presumptuous. If my mother were a thoughtful person, she wouldn't have ended up in this situation. She was in pain yet enjoying it, moved and in love. No matter how bizarre her life might seem, she was happy with it, and others had no business interfering, even if those others included her own flesh and blood daughter. One weekend after I turned 16, as I was returning to my dorm from tutoring, I unexpectedly found my mother pacing outside the dormitory. She held a new set of bedding in her arms, her forehead covered in sweat. The moment she saw me, she rushed over excitedly as if we were long-lost relatives, smiling and saying, "Thank goodness I waited for you. I've missed you so much, my child." It was like seeing a ghost in broad daylight. My mother was nothing like this. She said she came to deliver the keys to my new place and also wanted to check on my living conditions. She even apologized for the first time, explaining that she couldn't visit me in the hospital when I was sick last time because she was stuck at work. Just then, a roommate from upstairs greeted me, and she immediately figured out which dorm I lived in. Heading upstairs first, she placed the bedding on my bed and casually exchanged greetings with my classmates, having been friendless for so long. She had almost forgotten how to hold a conversation. Everything I said to my classmates was, "Do you love your mom? Do you love your dad? Then does your mom love your dad?" The classmates all showed expressions of disgust, but she remained oblivious. I didn't have the patience to deal with her, so I just took the thermos to fetch hot water. When I returned, my mother was already gone, and the bed was in complete disarray. A classmate informed me that before leaving, my mother had rummaged through my bed and then suddenly walked away without even saying goodbye. My heart skipped a beat, and I dropped the thermos to search under my mattress. There was nothing beneath the mattress. Where was it? Where were the $3,000 I had hidden under the mattress? Spring thunder rumbled overhead, one peal after another. The pouring rain couldn't extinguish the fury burning in my heart. $3,000. That's the university tuition I painstakingly saved by scrimping and saving. I can't lose it. The reason I didn't deposit it in the bank was that minors under 16 need a guardian present to open a bank account. Only after turning 16 can one apply independently. Last month I finally turned 16 and planned to open an account soon, but I never expected today's incident to happen. I chased frantically through the torrential rain, completely unaware of where our new home was. By the time I ran back to the old house, the new owners had already moved in. When I finally got our new address from the old neighbors and rushed over, I happened to run into my father just as he was about to leave. His face was unshaven, with dark circles under his eyes like a consumptive ghost from a TV show. Only his eyes gleamed with an unnatural excitement. I stood dripping wet in front of him, reaching out my hand. "Give me back the money." "What money?" "I don't know," he flatly denied, one hand in his pocket as he tried to leave. "Give me back the money." I lost control, rushed into the house to grab a kitchen knife, and swung it at my father. "If you won't let me go to college, I won't let you live. I've killed you once before. What's one more time?" I charged forward desperately, my mother pulling at me from behind, crying and screaming. In the struggle, I threw the kitchen knife, but it only left a shallow cut on my father's face before clattering to the ground. Seizing the opportunity, he bolted out the door and never looked back. I immediately grabbed my mom's phone and dialed 911. The police arrived quickly. Upon learning that my money had been taken by my parents, they simply said that no matter who steals money between parents and children, it doesn't count as a crime. They could only advise my mom to return the money to me. My mother agreed perfectly in front of the police, but as soon as they left, her expression changed. She sneered at me. "I went through hell giving birth to you, endured level 10 pain. What's wrong with taking $3,000 from you? Where did a kid like you get so much money? Did you do something shady? No wonder you've been away from home for the past year. Seems like you've been living the high life." The grievances from 2 lifetimes completely ignited within me. I hurled every curse word I'd learned across both lifetimes. I laughed at her for having no self-respect or self-love, for living like a sewer rat while mocking others for fearing the light. I curse her to a lonely and miserable old age, dying with no one by her bedside to see her off. I told her word by word exactly what kind of life she had missed out on, a life of remarriage to a wealthy merchant, surrounded by riches, waited on by servants. She shouldn't even dare to dream of it. At first, my words made her flush with anger, but by the time she heard my final remarks, she began foolishly mocking me, asking what nonsense I was spouting, what dreams I was having, and why I was fantasizing about some wealthy merchant. She had no idea that everything could have happened again, but the opportunity was completely lost. I had a fever for 2 days. After the fever subsided, I always felt low-spirited and lost the motivation to do test papers. Looking back on my 2 short lives, it was as if I was under the same curse. No matter how hard I try, my mother always ends up bringing me back to square one. Fate, why is it so hard to change? When my uncle came to visit me at school, he noticed my depression. I couldn't hide it anymore and choked up, saying, "My mom took the $3,000 I worked so hard to save. It was for my college fund." I saw my uncle clench his fist, yet there was gentleness in his eyes, and he didn't let anger affect me. He just smiled and asked about my dream university, telling me that if I got into a university, both the school and the government would offer substantial bonuses, totaling at least $200,000. I was utterly astonished. I have no idea at all. In my previous life, I died at the age of 18, having already dropped out of school before my death. In this life, I'm either busy studying or solely focused on picking up drink bottles at my feet. I simply lack the awareness to pay attention to policies. But after the initial surprise, I fell into hesitation again. University, the institution every student in the country aspires to attend, yet only the top-tier students can earn the privilege to study there. As for me, my long-standing goal has been to get into a 985 university, and I would already be more than satisfied with that. My uncle looked at me encouragingly and said, "In that case, you'll need to set a new goal for yourself." Before leaving, he handed me $2,000, telling me not to give up on my dreams over a mere $3,000 and forbidding me from taking on part-time jobs. He urged me to make the most of this critical year of senior high school for my final sprint. He knew that my excessive emphasis on self-respect stemmed from my inferiority complex. So he said this money wasn't a gift but a loan. Once I get into a university, I can use the bonus money to repay him. I set sail once again. I mechanically solved practice problems in my days and reviewed lessons amidst confusion and hesitation. The classmates around me have finally entered the tense atmosphere of senior year. Many are working hard, yet also relaxing. During casual chats after class, they talk about their backup plans. If they don't get into a good university, they'll follow the easier paths their parents suggest, leading to what they see as a more relaxed life, or just get into any college to earn a diploma, then return home and follow the path already paved by parents through connections and arrangements, or get married right after high school. After all, no matter how much education a girl receives, she'll eventually return to family life. They asked about my aspirations and plans. I just smiled faintly and said I hadn't figured it out yet. I felt like a thief, secretly carrying the words, "a university," in my heart, afraid to let anyone know. I fear they'll laugh at my overreach, mock me for only daydreaming. Only after evening self-study, lying in my dormitory bed, do I quietly bring out these words, whispering them softly on my tongue. Can I make it to a university? Am I worthy? Do I dare? Had no idea. I grew even more silent. In my silence, I wrestled with myself and with fate. I am a bird whose feet were severed by my family of origin. Only by growing the strongest wings can I soar to the highest peaks. I will fly beyond the Milky Way, to a place where my parents can never reach me. I must be able to. I work harder than before, I sleep less, I practice more. I have experienced the darkness at 2 a.m., and I have also witnessed the rising sun in the morning. I take every minor exam seriously, and during post-exam reviews, I analyze each question thoroughly, applying the knowledge to different scenarios and redoing them twice. The difficulty of the first high school's test papers gradually diminishes in my eyes. My problem-solving approaches were even shared by my homeroom teacher with the school's faculty, becoming classic case studies for whole class discussions in their lessons. At the senior year pledge ceremony, I finally declared my dream university openly and proudly. A university. My voice traveled through the microphone, reaching nearly 1,000 students in my grade. Not a single voice mocked my overestimation of myself. That June was exceptionally hot. When the 3-day exams ended, I let out a long sigh of relief. The principal personally came to ask me how I did on the exam. I smiled slightly and simply said, "I've seen all the question types before. It wasn't too difficult. For the past decade, all the promising candidates for a university have been monopolized by first high school, not to mention the countless students admitted to top-tier universities. The best achievements of second high school were only 2 students admitted to B University and 1 to Z University. These 3 individuals were actually repeat students transferred from other schools." The principal's face flushed with excitement. "If we really get a student admitted to a university, our school will finally be able to hold its head high." On the day the results were released, the principal and homeroom teacher made a special trip to my uncle's house. I sat in front of the computer while they stood behind me. I entered each exam admission number one by one, watching as the scores appeared hidden on the pop-up page. The principal behind me shouted excitedly, "She got in, student Judy really got in." I turned to look at my uncle. His eyes were red, and he gave me a thumbs up. I knew my wings had finally grown. When the school gate was adorned with bright red congratulatory notices, I solemnly received the certificate representing a $200,000 scholarship from the principal's hands. At the same time, 2 local enterprises each awarded me a $100,000 scholarship. The chairman of one of these companies, Lee, specifically attended the ceremony, treating me as an independent adult. He shook my hand earnestly and encouraged me to study hard and become a pillar of society. He didn't actually know me. I do know him. In my previous life, he was my stepfather. When my mother attacked me with vicious words, he defended me multiple times, yet I never got the chance to express my gratitude to him. In this life, he has become one of the forces encouraging me to soar high. I sincerely thanked him and bowed deeply to him. He came with his newlywed wife. She was a very beautiful woman, dressed elegantly, carrying herself with grace, about the same age as my mother, and even bore some resemblance to her. I realized then that my mother had truly missed out on a new chapter in her life. As the award ceremony ended and I was leaving the campus, I spotted my father lingering at the school gate. He looked even more aged, with a dispirited expression and swollen cheeks. Only his clothes were neatly arranged, courtesy of my mother, who would even iron his underwear smooth. He wanted to enter the campus but had no access pass, so the security guard naturally wouldn't allow it. He nodded and bowed, forcing a smile. Like a clown, it was hard to believe that someone so meek and submissive on the outside could be domineering and tyrannical at home. I knew perfectly well that he was after my scholarship. I didn't show myself until I saw him leave. Then I returned to my uncle's house. A few days later, new news arrived. My mother had been killed. Fortunately, she was discovered in time and had just been resuscitated. The murderer is actually my father, who is currently on the run. I don't know how I should feel when I go to see my mother. She lies on the hospital bed, her face so pale that the capillaries beneath her skin are visible. According to my uncle, my father first secretly fed her sleeping pills, then placed her in a nearly scrapped car, drove it to a lakeside, released the handbrake, and staged the scene to make it look like my mother drowned after the car rolled into the water while she was asleep. Before this, my father had purchased a substantial insurance policy for my mother. The beneficiary was himself. Not long before, he had incurred nearly $1 million in gambling debts again. There were too many loopholes in the crime, and the police solved the case in less than 3 days. The official announcement was right before her eyes, yet my mother adamantly refused to believe it. Her voice hoarse, she said, "How could he possibly kill me? He loved the soft-boiled eggs I made the most, adored the fermented rice soup I cooked, and he loved hitting me the most. If he kills me, who will cook eggs and soup for him in the future, when he wants to vent his anger by hitting someone, who will let him do it without complaint or regret? If he wanted to kill me, why did he save me 20 years ago?" She might not believe it, but my father was soon caught. It's said that when the police caught him, he was in a gambling den in a neighboring province, trying to win some money for his escape. When my father was taken by the police to identify the crime scene, my mother, despite repeated warnings from the officers, shouted from a distance, "Do you really want to kill me? Is there something you're hiding? Just say it." My father, utterly exasperated, yelled back, "I just wanted to kill you for the insurance money. Marrying you in this lifetime was the worst luck in 8 generations." As the police instantly pinned him to the ground, he still managed to roar out the rest of his words, "I'm the unlucky one, didn't get a single cent of the insurance money, and now I'm gonna lose my life." Hearing the brutal truth directly from my father's mouth, my mother completely broke down. She slept in a daze for half a month, and when she woke up, she had gone mad. On the day I left my hometown to enroll at a university, I went to see her one last time at the mental hospital. Accompanied by my uncle. In the hospital, she frantically shouted at the nurses and doctors, insisting she wasn't crazy. She claimed to be the wife of the wealthy Lee and ordered the hospital to release her immediately, threatening to sue them to death otherwise. When she saw me, it was as if she saw an enemy, glaring at me with bloodshot eyes. She said I was the one who killed my father and that I deserved to go to prison. How dare I still have the face to live when my father was already lying underground? She spoke the exact same words as in the previous life. She had also been reborn, yet showed no remorse. I have nothing to say. Let go of the urge to help and respect others' fate. This is the best response I can give her in this lifetime, and the best way for me. My connection with her ends here. That afternoon, I boarded a flight to Beijing. The life that belongs to me has finally arrived. After hearing the second story above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Next, there is another similar story. Let's continue to see. The first thing Mom did after her rebirth was on the day of the divorce. She gave up fighting for my custody. "Give me $5 million, and the child is yours." After saying that, Mom turned and walked away. I didn't cry or make a scene. Quietly, I took my father's hand, because I had been reborn too. Dad excitedly hugged me, kissing me once on the left, then again. "Good girl, Mia. I told you your mother wouldn't want you." I remained silent. Dad noticed my sadness. He comforted, "It's okay, just follow Daddy. Daddy will spoil you properly." "Is that so?" I let out a bitter laugh. His gaze still hadn't shifted from Mom's retreating figure, but she didn't even look back as she got into that car. Your mom is really something." No sooner had we divorced than she hopped into another man's car. What a shameless thing to say. I lowered my head. In my past life, even after my parents divorced and I stayed with Mom, she never once spoke ill of Dad in front of me. She always said, "Mia, no matter what happens between your dad and me, he will always love you." I believed that too, until, 1 week after my parents' divorce, I couldn't hold back any longer and called my mom. but I found out her number had been blocked. When I asked my dad about mom's whereabouts again, he frowned and said impatiently, "You've already chosen to stay with me, so stop asking about your mother. I told you, she doesn't want you anymore, she's just a heartless woman." In my father's words, I learned that my mother had already processed her emigration paperwork on the very day of their divorce, a week prior, and left the country with her university mentor's son, to further her studies. Dad has been brooding over this matter, he regrets agreeing too soon, the divorce papers were signed too hastily, he didn't discover mom's affair earlier, this way, they could kick mom out without spending a single penny, leaving her with nothing, but I knew, back then. Mom gave up studying abroad and abandoned her own dreams for Dad's sake, in the second year of their marriage. I was born, I thought our family of 3 would continue to live such a sweet life, but soon, Dad started coming home less and less. At first, Mom would still smile and tell me that Dad was just too busy with work during the company's startup phase, until Dad forgot their wedding anniversary. Mom waited at home all night with the prepared meal. Later, they forgot my birthday. Mom could no longer deceive herself, so she couldn't bear it anymore and filed for divorce. Dad noticed my dejected expression and realized his tone had been too harsh. He smiled and picked me up. "Good girl, Mia, Daddy was wrong, your mom, well, anyway, I'll find you another mom someday, she'll definitely be 100, no, 1,000 times better than your mother." My brow twitched. 1 month after my parents' divorce, Dad brought a new auntie into the house. Knew her, she is Susan, the new assistant my dad hired for his company. In my previous life, my dad would always complain to us during meals about how clumsy his newly hired assistant was, unable to do anything right. His tone was full of disgust. Mom would even speak up for her. "Oh, she's just a fresh college graduate, it's not easy for her, you should be more understanding." Later, when Dad mentioned her again, the anger was gone, replaced by a smile. Back then, Mom had cautiously asked Dad, "Have you been mentioning Susan a bit too often lately?" Dad's expression turned somewhat awkward. He angrily scolded his mother in frustration. "Can you stop being so petty? I just mentioned the employees a few more times, and you're already jealous. If I had to fire all the female employees in our company just for you, would that even make sense?" His mother felt wronged and hesitated to speak. In the end, she said nothing. Susan walked over, and I sweetly called out, "Sister." She was very happy. She pinched my cheek and said, "Mia, you're so sweet. Look at what I bought for you. Do you like it?" I saw the Barbie doll in her hand, along with my favorite white princess dress. I looked up and smiled. "I really like it, thank you, sis." Dad also stepped forward and hugged Susan, his tone full of affection. "I told you, our Mia is very sweet and sensible. See, I was right, wasn't I?" When Dad went to work, only she and I were left in the room. Susan approached with an ingratiating manner. "Mia, be honest with me. Do you mind if your sister becomes your new mom?" I saw the probing look in her eyes. With a smile, I replied, "Of course I don't mind." She didn't believe it and pressed further. "But, don't you miss your mom?" I answered without hesitation. "I don't miss her at all. My dad said she ran off with another man and never wanted me again. Besides, my mom is old and ugly, and doesn't take care of herself. How could she compare to how young and pretty you are? I like having you as my new mom." My words completely dispelled Susan's doubts. She breathed a sigh of relief, walked into her father's study. Through the door, I heard voices talking inside. "I told you Mia is only 6 years old, she doesn't remember much. As long as you're good to her, she'll definitely be good to you too." If I didn't love you, I wouldn't be someone else's stepmother." Soon, the ambiguous sounds of lips and tongues entwining and Dad's heavy panting breaths came from inside. I silently turned and walked away. The day Dad married Susan, I was their flower girl. From afar, I thought I saw a figure. It looked just like Mom, but when I chased after them, I found no one there. Of course, Mom really did abandon me. She had already gone abroad to pursue her dreams. Why would she return to this place, this land of sorrow? After all, in my past life, she's suffered greatly for my sake. Previous life, my parents got divorced, and my mother insisted on having my custody no matter what. But my mother didn't have a job, while my father ran a company, so the chances of my mother winning the custody battle weren't very high. My mother filed for divorce and demanded half of my father's assets, but Dad smiled and said the company was under Grandma and Grandpa's name, it didn't belong to him, including the house and cars. At that moment, Mom finally realized Dad had been scheming against her since their marriage began. All along, Mom had never bothered with these matters due to her trust in Dad, yet she never expected the person lying beside her would be the one scheming the deepest. Finally, My mother fought for my custody, she left with nothing but me. No one could imagine how hard it was for a jobless woman to raise a child alone. What's even more despicable is that despite having so much money, my father refused to give my mother a single cent in child support. The temperature soared to 40 degrees, yet our rented tiny room didn't even have an air conditioner. Without windows, the stifling heat was unbearable. After work, in the evening, my mother would wipe my body with cool water, over and over, to bring down my temperature, yet she herself was drenched in sweat from the heat. Ever since Mom and Dad got divorced, Mom couldn't afford the tuition for the elite private school, so she had to send me to a cheaper public school first. Mia, once Mom earns enough money, I'll send you back to your old school. The piano, dance, and calligraphy classes I used to take have all automatically stopped. Mom felt deeply guilty about it. I suddenly had an idea. I hated those classes anyway, they were exhausting. It's better not to have them. The cakes, salmon, French foie gras, and Australian lobsters I used to enjoy freely are now too expensive for Mom to even consider. But whatever delicious food there is, Mom always saves it for me first. Mom, the teacher says eating rich food all the time isn't good for our health. We should eat more vegetables to maintain a balanced diet. Mom knew these were just words of comfort from me. She hugged me tightly and cried uncontrollably. Overnight, I went from being a high and mighty princess to a little match girl selling matches in the slums. But I never once resented my mother. As long as I was with my mother, even the hardest days felt sweet to me. Later, when I fell ill, running a high fever and contracting pneumonia, Mom rushed me to the hospital immediately, but couldn't afford the treatment. In my hazy consciousness, I heard Mom pleading with Dad over the phone. Dad's tone was condescending as he sneered. "What's this? Didn't you say you could take good care of Mia if she was left with you? How come she's already hospitalized in less than half a year?" Mom looked at my feverishly red face and choked up. "Please, Sam, she's your own flesh and blood, just 5,000, I'll pay the hospital bill, and I'll never ask you for another cent. $5,000, not even enough for one of Susan's bags, not even enough for her cat to get a high-end grooming session." But Dad wouldn't even give that. In the end, Mom had no choice but to take out an online loan. I got better, but Mom became even more exhausted. She started working 2 jobs, serving as a waitress during the day and delivering takeout at night. Every day when she came home, it was already late at night. Mom would tiptoe around, afraid of waking me, yet I would still wake up instantly. Once, Mom thought I was asleep. She held me, rocking back and forth, murmuring to herself, "Mia, Mom wants you." Is that wrong? Actually, I really want to tell Mom, choosing to follow her. I don't regret it at all. Susan has been married for less than half a year. They had only one son, Leo. That day, Dad was overjoyed, dancing around in the hospital. The Lincoln family finally has an heir. But back when Mom and Dad were still in love, Dad used to say he preferred girls. What a considerate daughter. She's Daddy's little cotton-padded jacket, unlike boys who only know how to make me angry. To reward Susan for continuing the Lincoln family line, overjoyed, Dad immediately bought Susan a beachfront villa. Susan then took the opportunity to suggest kicking me out of the Lincoln family home. After all, Leo isn't her biological brother, so there's no guarantee she won't harm my son. Dad frowned. She's just a child, how could she possibly do that? Besides, she's still my own flesh and blood. Sending her away would sound terrible if word got out. Seeing her father's refusal, Susan immediately threw a tantrum, threatening to jump off the building with the child. My dad coaxed me with endearing words, calling me sweetheart and treasure in his pity. In the end, though reluctant, Dad agreed. On the day he sent me away, he couldn't bring himself to look me in the eye. "Your brother is too spoiled, crying and fussing all day. Dad is worried it might affect your studies, so we'll rent you a place outside and hire a nanny to take good care of you." "Okay." I know my opinion doesn't matter, so I nodded and said okay. Dad didn't expect me to be so calm and agree so readily. Feeling somewhat guilty, he slipped a card into my hand. "There's 500,000 in the card. You can buy whatever you want." I smiled sweetly. "Thank you, Dad." When getting in the car, Dad waved at me. The driver David was quite indignant on my behalf. Mr. Sam is too biased. After all, you're his daughter too. How could he just drive you away like this?" I lowered my eyes, and said nothing. In this world, where there's a stepmother, there will inevitably be a stepfather. This was something I had already witnessed in my previous life, so there's no need to feel heartbroken again. As long as I can grow up peacefully in this household, I ask for nothing else. After moving out, Dad never showed up again. whenever I send messages to Dad, he always promised to come see me on the weekends. Later, he started complaining that I messaged him too often. Don't keep sending me messages. If your Aunt Susan sees them, she'll be upset. So I wisely stopped messaging altogether. Occasionally, I find myself staring blankly at a photo of our family of 3 on my 5th birthday. My parents took me to Disneyland in Shanghai. That remains the happiest day in my memory. Dad took me on a roller coaster, our family enjoyed the water rafting together, and he also brought me to explore Treasure Cove in the Pirates of the Caribbean-themed area. As night fell and the fireworks display was about to begin, Dad lifted me high into the air. I sat atop his broad shoulders. The dazzling fireworks blooming in the sky forever captured the smiles of our family of 3 in this photograph. Tears kept falling, but soon, I shook off my sorrowful thoughts. Don't dwell on the past, Mom once told me. Mia, no matter when, never give up on your dreams or your career. Education may not be the only path in life, but it can give you more choices in life. Yes, study. Since my parents divorced, my grades, which were once at the top of the class, gradually dropped to the bottom. Now, I wake up early and stay up late, memorize English words and Chinese texts every day. Whenever I have free time, I read books. If I don't understand something the first time, I'll read it again. Diligence can make up for lack of talent. Besides, I'm not stupid to begin with. Soon, my grades improved by leaps and bounds. I became the top student in my class. Later on, I even ranked first in the entire grade. The teacher called my dad's phone, learning that I had topped my grade in the final exams. Dad was so thrilled that he unexpectedly took me home. The new year is approaching, and Dad is taking you home for the holidays. Looking at Dad's outstretched hand, after a moment of hesitation, I still took it. As soon as she entered and saw me, Susan's frown never eased. She even started arguing with my dad right in front of me. Didn't I tell you not to bring outsiders into our home? She didn't spare Dad any face at all. Dad cautiously began, after all, Mia is also my daughter. I just brought her back to celebrate the new year. I'll send her back right after dinner. Susan sneered. Yes, she's your daughter, but isn't Leo your son too? I'm your wife now. Can you stop bringing your ex-wife's daughter home to upset me? If you don't want to be with me anymore, let's just get divorced. Leo, just over a year old, couldn't speak coherently yet, had already treated me as an enemy. He charged at me like a little lion, full of anger, and crashed into me. Bad guy, go away, don't bully my mom. After saying that, he fell to the ground himself, crying loudly. He even threw a cup at me, which shattered on the ground, and the flying glass shards cut my calf. Blood instantly gushed out. Dad was so heartbroken he nearly cried, rushing forward to hug Leo and comfort him. Then, he shot me a look of disgust. He roared, "What are you still doing here, getting in the way? Get out." My heart clenched. Truth be told, I'd always known Dad favored Leo more, but at least he'd always been kind to me. I was still lying to myself. Although Dad didn't show me much love, but there was still some love. Now, the last glimmer of hope has vanished. I turned and walked away, but I was too young to hail a cab. Besides, it was already New Year's Eve, and there wasn't a soul on the street. I gazed at the lights in every household, golden and white, brimming with hope and happiness, yet not a single light belonged to me now. I hugged my shoulders and sat by the door, waiting for him. I don't know how long I waited. Just as my body was about to stiffen from the biting winter wind, the door opened. "Why haven't you left yet?" I finally managed to calm Leo down. "If he sees you, he'll start crying and fussing again." The tone was full of impatience. My body couldn't stop trembling, and my teeth were chattering from the cold. "I have nowhere to go." A single sentence left Dad frozen in place. He glanced at the deserted streets around him, realizing the driver had long gone home for the new year. His gaze finally settled on the injured calf of my leg, speaking with a hint of apology. "Mia, Dad has no choice. You see, as soon as you come over, Aunt Susan starts arguing with me, and there's your little brother. He's still young. How can I possibly abandon my own son for your sake?" I stared steadily into my father's eyes. Softly, I said, "But Dad, I'm your daughter too. I'm only 8 years old too." Dad's eyes darted away. His tone was impatient. "All right, I didn't say you're not my daughter. There's just no other way. I'll take you back." I gazed at the scenery flashing by outside the window. My mind was filled with images of my mother's face. I wonder if she's living the life she wanted now. Is she doing all right? Without me as a burden, she must be living happily now. Will we ever meet again? In my previous life, my mother collapsed while delivering takeout. When the hospital called my elementary school teacher, "I'm still in class." The teacher looked reluctant, sent me to the hospital. All the way, I tightly clutched my sleeve. The teacher hesitated to speak. In the end, Nothing was said. When I went to the hospital and saw my mother, her face was covered with a white cloth. The doctor explained to us, heatstroke, sunstroke. Too late. Some words jumped into my ears, yet I couldn't understand them. The mother who kissed me with a smile when leaving in the morning, how could she now lie there motionless? Finally, the teacher patted my head and said regretfully, Mia, your mother has passed away. I stubbornly stood there, refusing to let them take Mom away. You're lying, my mom wouldn't die. I shook Mom's body desperately. Mom, wake up, please don't sleep anymore. Okay, I was wrong, I won't go to school anymore. I'll eat less from now on. Mom, can you please not ignore me? Mom, I'll go beg Dad to give us money, so you won't have to work so hard. Mom, no matter what I said, Mom just lay there with a pale face. It seemed like she would never respond to me again. As I spoke, all the uncles and aunts present began to cry. The teacher choked up, crouched down, and hugged me. Mia, don't be like this. Your mother is too tired. Let her rest. Yeah, with a burden like me, Mom's life is too exhausting. She gets at most 4 or 5 hours of sleep a day, running around every day just for money. Even though she was already exhausted and had given her all, she still felt guilty towards me. Mom said she was an orphan who endured great hardships as a child. Later, she managed to attend university through financial aid. She studied desperately, wanting to change her fate, but after meeting Dad, she still gave up her dreams for love. Whenever she talks about these things, her face always looks very sad, but she said, I don't regret it, because being with your father gave me you, Mia. Mom is truly happy, but I regret it. If back then, I hadn't chosen Mom, she probably would have lived a very happy life. At the very least, she'd still be alive. I slowly, ever so slowly, loosened my grip on Mom's hand. Mom can finally get some proper sleep now. I won't disturb her anymore. I'll be good. I watched helplessly as my mother was pushed into the furnace before my eyes, then engulfed by the flames. At that moment, my heart ached as if being twisted. Darkness kept flashing before my eyes. I think, if I could do it all over again, I wouldn't choose my mother. Heaven took pity. When I opened my eyes again, I was back on the day my parents divorced, but it seemed Mom had also been reborn. She didn't want me anymore. I just feel fortunate. Mom, in this lifetime, live for yourself. The 4th year after Mom left, on my 10th birthday, Dad took the initiative to bring me back home. I stood at the doorstep, hesitating for a long time without stepping inside. Seeing me frozen in place, Dad looked puzzled. Why aren't you coming in, Mia? I glanced inside. Aunt Susan and little brother. He gave a dry laugh. Come in, we're all family. Although Aunt Susan had some issues with you before, I've already talked to her, and now she's ready to treat you like her own daughter. I don't believe my father's words, yet, I don't want to go against his wishes either. As soon as I entered the door, Susan was standing by the dining table, which was laden with all kinds of delicacies, smiling as she beckoned me over. Mia, I never imagined you'd grow up to be so tall and even more beautiful now. Her tone was dripping with sycophantic flattery. Since she gave birth to the child, I've hardly returned home. It's normal to feel this way after not seeing each other for years. Seeing that I didn't respond, she smiled awkwardly. She asked me to sit down and kept putting food in my bowl. Hurry up and eat. This is your home now. I've already discussed it with your father. You're about to start middle school, and it's time you went to a better school. It's all his fault for being too busy with work and not paying attention to your education. Sigh, he doesn't take it seriously at all, always needing me to remind him. Yet, it was her who once threw a tantrum, refusing to let Dad send me to the best private school. She only allowed me to attend the most ordinary public elementary school. I finished the meal in silence, watching Susan hesitate to speak. She kept giving Dad meaningful looks, but Dad hesitated for a long time and still didn't say anything. That night, when I was about to leave, Dad asked me to stay. However, the room I used to live in had long since become my younger brother's bedroom. I had to settle for staying in the guest room first. Before resting, I asked Dad, do you remember what day it is today? He thought for a moment. What day? It's just Saturday, isn't it? I forgot to take Auntie Susan's dog for a bath today. She's going to blame me again when she finds out. All right, get some rest now. I closed the door with a self-deprecating smile. Of course, how could Dad possibly remember my birthday anyway? In his heart, my status is even lower than a cat Susan keeps. The next day, my belongings from the rental were brought over by my dad. From now on, the 4 of us will live together as a family. I remained silent, no refusal, no agreement. For a while after that, both Dad and Susan treated me very well, too well, unnaturally so, until that day, I heard Dad and Susan arguing in the bedroom. How much longer do we have to pamper this little princess? When are you finally going to talk to her about donating bone marrow? Dad sighed. Just a few more days. After all, Mia is also my daughter. She's still so young. How can I bring myself to ask her to donate bone marrow for Leo? Susan sneered. Right, she's your daughter, your precious little darling, but what about Leo? Isn't he your son too? She's just donating bone marrow. It won't kill her, but if our son doesn't get the surgery soon, he'll die. Are you really going to stand by and watch your own son die? The sound of something shattering came from the bedroom. I stood frozen in place. So, all these days, the reason Dad was being nice to me was because he wanted me to donate bone marrow to my younger brother. I thought I wouldn't feel hurt by Dad anymore, but now, I still can't suppress the ache in my heart. How I longed to shout at him, I am your daughter too. Tears fell silently. The door suddenly opened. Dad's face turned awkward for a moment when he saw my tear-streaked face. Sighed. Since you've already heard, I'll take you to the hospital tomorrow. I stared at him, still unwilling to give up. I asked, Dad, I'm only 10, are you really going to ignore my health for the sake of my little brother? He avoided my gaze and waved his hand impatiently. Then what about me? Am I supposed to just watch Leo die? He's your brother too. You should save him as well. I took a deep breath. Dad, all the kindness you've shown me these days, it was all for my brother, wasn't it? He didn't answer. Consider it as default. I've completely given up. I won't donate. I turned to leave, but Susan grabbed my hand tightly. Her eyes were venomous as she spat out viciously. You'll donate whether you want to or not. All these years, we've fed and clothed you, and now you won't even donate some bone marrow, you ungrateful wretch. I turned to my father for help, but he stood silently to the side. No matter how hard I struggled, I couldn't break free. In the end, I sank my teeth into her arm with all my strength. She let go in pain, cursing and lashing out at me, punching and kicking. Dad just stood by, watching coldly, unmoved. Finally, covered in wounds, I was locked in the basement by Susan, dark, damp, and filled with the smell of mold. I could even hear the squeaking of mice. In my previous life, the tiny rented room my mother and I lived in also had mice, but back then, with my mother by my side, I wasn't afraid of anything. Now, I'm really scared. How I wish Mom could appear and take me away, but maybe she's long forgotten me. I hugged my arms, comfort myself. It's okay, as long as Mom is doing well. It doesn't matter if I suffer a little. Just go ahead and donate the bone marrow. Once I'm an adult, I can leave this home. When the time comes, I'll go abroad to find my mom. Over the years, I've been carefully saving the pocket money Dad occasionally gave me. I have enough money to go find Mom. Just thinking about it fills me with courage, not afraid at all anymore, humming the lullaby my mother used to sing me to sleep, enduring hunger, slowly drifting into dreamland. The next day, at the break of dawn, Susan and her dad took me to the hospital. First, we underwent a compatibility test. A week later, the results showed that we were a match. Dad was overjoyed. Take me to the hospital immediately and demand the surgery. After seeing my physical condition, the doctor refused to perform the surgery for us. She's too thin and too young to donate bone marrow. Upon hearing this, Susan immediately threw a tantrum in the hospital. Do you want to kill someone? My son is sick now and waiting for a bone marrow transplant to save his life, yet you refuse to perform the surgery. What kind of intentions do you have? I'm telling you, if anything happens to my son, I won't let you off the hook. The doctor, though helpless, patiently explained. Generally, donors under 18 don't meet the eligibility criteria. However, forced donation is possible, but she must gain weight. Right now, she weighs only 50 to 60 pounds, which is already quite underweight for her age. She needs to reach at least 100 pounds to donate. As parents, you can first help her gain weight for a while and proceed with the donation once she meets the requirement. No, I can't wait any longer. Anyway, donating bone marrow won't kill you. Just perform the surgery on my son now. I don't care, Susan screamed at the doctor with a ferocious expression. The doctor was in a very difficult position, looked at my father, wanted to seek his opinion. Finally, my father lowered his head and said, do as my wife says. The doctor helplessly looked at me again. Little one, are you really willing to donate bone marrow to your younger brother? I looked at the sympathetic gazes of the people around me. My heart ached with sorrow. I don't want to, but what's the use? Dad is my guardian. As long as he agrees, I can't resist. I took a deep breath. Whispered reply, I'm willing. The door was suddenly pushed open. A familiar yet loud voice exploded in my ears. I don't want to. I turned my head abruptly. It's the face I've been dreaming of day and night. It's Mom. Mom is back. Dad also saw Mom. He stood there in stunned silence. I froze too. I couldn't believe it. Mom had really come back. I stared greedily at my mother, afraid that this was just a dream of mine. Mom was wearing a camel-colored wool coat with a beige base layer underneath. Her long black hair shimmered like silk, smooth and glossy, while her fair skin looked as delicate as an eggshell, so tender it seemed it could break with a touch. She appeared noble, elegant, beautiful, and graceful. Was this the same mother from my past life? The one with a weary face, sallow and emaciated from malnutrition? Tina. Dad was stunned by Mom's beauty, frozen in place. He confirmed it several times, but Mom walked up coldly, slapped Dad hard across the face, then shielded me behind them. Sam. Back when I entrusted my daughter to your care, how did you treat her? Kicking her out of the house, making her live alone, even spending New Year's by herself. Fine, let that slide, but now you want her, at such a young age, to donate bone marrow for your son. I'm telling you, not a chance. Dad was stunned by the blow and only now came to his senses. Faced with Mom's questioning, he lowered his head in embarrassment. Susan pointed at Mom's nose and said, "It was you who gave up custody of your daughter for $5 million back then. Now she's our daughter, and we'll do whatever we want with her. As for donating bone marrow, she must donate it to my son." Mom sneered. "Yes, I did give custody to Sam before, but things are different now. I'll sue you for abusing Mia, and I'll take back custody of my daughter." With that, no matter how Susan raged and cursed, Mother took my hand and led me out of the room. Even after leaving, I still felt like I was living in a dream. We walked to a corner. Mom let go of my hand. My heart skipped a beat. I cautiously stepped forward and gently tugged at Mom's fingers. "Mom, please don't be mad at me. It's okay if you don't want me, but could you tell me where you live? I'd like to see you." I quickly added, "Just occasionally. If you don't want to see me, even a distant glance would be enough." But Mom still ignored me, still with her back to me. My heart sank little by little. I slowly let go of Mom's hand, but in an instant, I was suddenly pulled into my mother's embrace. Mother was trembling. She held me tightly, her tears soaked through my shoulder. "Mia, I'm sorry. It's all my fault. I couldn't take you with me back then because I had no choice. All these years abroad, I've been working so hard, studying and earning money, just so I could come back sooner and take you away from your father. Mom never wanted to abandon you. I'm sorry. You must blame me. You must hate me so much. It's my fault you've suffered all these years." After crying for a long time, Mom finally let go of me. I reached up to wipe the tears from the corner of my mother's eyes. "Mom, I never blamed you. All these years, I haven't suffered at all, really. I miss you so much." Mom took me to get a scar assessment done, then immediately filed a lawsuit against Dad in court. That day, Mom took me to her home. "This is your bedroom." I looked at the room before me, my eyes welled up with tears again. On the bed was my favorite Nick the Fox plushie. The room was still decorated in my favorite shade of green. A nightlight for Mom's bedtime stories stood by the bedside, and on the desk sat the wooden piglet doll Mom had carefully carved for me. I threw myself into my mother's embrace. This embrace, in my past life, I had lost. I thought in this life, my mother didn't want me anymore, but I never expected she would come back. Mom held me in her arms, patting my back to help me sleep, but I wasn't sleepy at all. Full of energy, chattering away about my experiences over the past few years. Even though Dad wasn't good to me, but I didn't care. Over these 4 years, I've been studying diligently, reading thousands of books, and I can even explain the stories from them clearly to my mom. "Mom, you might not know this yet, but I've always been the top student in my grade," I said proudly. Mom's face was full of smiles as she kissed my forehead. "Mia, Mom knows." I felt somewhat disappointed, had wanted to give her a surprise. Mom continued, "Actually, I came to every parent-teacher meeting. But I never went in. I just watched you from afar. I was afraid that if I saw you, I wouldn't be able to leave again, but I had nothing. How could I fight your father for custody? How could I provide you with a good life? Can you forgive me?" My eyes lit up. "So you came back on Dad's wedding day too, right?" Mom nodded sheepishly. "At that time, Mom had just been abroad for a month, away from you for a month. I missed you so much I could hardly sleep, so I secretly bought a ticket to come see you. I never expected to run into your dad getting married. It turns out, every time I saw a figure resembling Mom, it wasn't an illusion, it was real." I hugged Mom tightly. All those days I missed her. She missed me just the same. Mom also told me about her days studying abroad. Back then, Mom didn't dare tell you the truth, afraid I wouldn't be able to persevere, afraid I would disappoint you. So I could only pretend to abandon you, giving your custody to your dad. Then I went abroad with the son of my university mentor, your Uncle Lin. when Mom first arrived there. I missed you every day, couldn't speak the language, and had fallen behind in my field for many years. You don't know how many times Mom wanted to give up, but just thinking of you filled me with determination again. That night, my mom and I talked until we were exhausted, but still didn't want to sleep. Mom, do you think I'll see you again tomorrow? Could this be a dream? Silly Mia, Mom will never leave you again. Go to sleep now. When I opened my eyes again, I found nothing beside me. An overwhelming panic engulfed me. I screamed in terror. Mom, cooking in the living room, rushed into the room. What's wrong? Seeing the nervous look on her face, I finally let out a sigh of relief. Thank goodness, it really wasn't a dream. Before the court hearing, Dad tried to reach Mom multiple times, but she refused to see him. In the end, Dad came to me. I can give your custody to your mother, but you must promise to donate bone marrow to your younger brother, otherwise, Dad will hire the best lawyer to fight this case. I turned and told Mom what Dad had said. Mom was furious. She immediately called Dad on the spot. You bastard, let me tell you, hire any lawyer you want. I'm determined to fight this lawsuit. Don't even think about getting my daughter to donate her marrow. She will never donate in this lifetime. After Mom hung up the phone, she looked at me. I'm sorry, Mom shouldn't have spoken so loudly in front of you, and I definitely shouldn't have scolded your dad in your presence. I shook my head. It's okay, and I actually think what Mom said was right. Anyway, I don't want this dad anymore either. After saying that, we exchanged a knowing smile. Dad indeed contacted a law firm and found the best lawyer in town, a highly authoritative lawyer specializing in civil cases related to marriage and child custody disputes. Dad paid $1 million. He invited the lawyer to meet with him, but when he arrived, he only saw his mother. Frowning, he snapped at her. Are you following me? Heh, let me tell you, I'm about to meet a very powerful lawyer. Soon, I'll make you beg on your knees. His mother responded with a cold smile. He took out his lawyer's license. Is that so, Mr. Lincoln? The person you're looking for wouldn't happen to be me, would it? Dad's eyes widened in shock. You? How could it be you? Mom said sarcastically. What else did you think I went abroad for back then? I majored in law in college. My graduation advisor originally wanted to give me the opportunity to study abroad, but for your sake, I stayed in the country. I came here just to tell you, this lawsuit, I will definitely win. With that, Mom left proudly. Dad didn't give up and sought out other lawyers, but upon seeing the specifics of the case and learning that Mom was the involved party, they all claimed they couldn't help. In the end, in court, Mom not only successfully won custody of me, she also secured a substantial amount in compensation. Of course, the child support payments must not be a penny less in the future. Later, Leo's condition deteriorated rapidly, and they still couldn't find a suitable bone marrow match. His father came with the money, begging his mother to save their son, but the mother just threw the money in his face and told him to get out. Helpless, the father had no choice but to go for a matching test with his son, only to find it was unsuccessful. In the end, he died from the illness. Susan went crazy. She believed that her son's death was all because of me and my father. She forced my father to kill me. Naturally, my father refused. Because of this, she made a huge scene. Every day she would find new ways to smash things around the house. At first, Dad would still comfort her, buying things to cheer her up, but as time went on, Susan even started hitting and kicking Dad. Dad grew tired of it too. He began to regret divorcing my mother all those years ago, calling my mom frequently. Of course, Mom completely ignored him, eventually blocked all his contact information. Later, after Dad was cut on the arm by Susan with a knife, he finally couldn't take it anymore and filed for divorce. Susan naturally refused to agree. She believed I was the culprit who killed her son and ruined her life, so she ambushed me on my way to school, wanting to kill me to avenge her son, but Mom had already been prepared. She hired bodyguards to protect me around the clock. When Susan charged at me with a knife, the bodyguard kicked her away fiercely. In the end, Mom sued Susan for intentional assault. At the court hearing, she spewed profanities, angrily cursing both me and my mother. She even said that one day she would kill me to avenge her son. Even the judge grew weary of it. Finally, she was sentenced to 3 years in prison for attempted intentional injury. Outside the courthouse, Dad stood before Mom and me, his face full of exhaustion. He murmured, "I'm sorry." Mom sneered, not even willing to give him a glance. "Sam, from the moment you refused to pay even $5,000 when our daughter fell ill, I stopped considering you as Mia's father." Dad was stunned. I didn't, in this lifetime, he truly hadn't, but at this moment, I finally believed Mom had indeed been reborn. Dad turned his pleading gaze toward me. I held Mom's hand firmly. I only have a mother, no father. From today onwards, my name is Mia Miller. Later, it was said that Susan went mad in prison. She searches for her son every day. After hearing this, Mom just said, "Serves you right." I once asked Mom if she had someone she liked. I wouldn't mind if she found someone else, because I don't want Mom to be all alone, but Mom said, "With you, Mom is never lonely." Besides, Mom is busy with work every day now, and every day is fulfilling. Hearing Mom say this, I was actually very happy, because I didn't want anyone to take away Mom's love either. Not even the slightest bit was acceptable. After that, Mom moved away with me, and I never saw Dad again. I don't know if it's because he never looked for me again, or because Mom wouldn't let him see me. Many years later, I found the one I love. Wedding day, a hunched old man lingered outside my wedding venue for a long time. After we locked eyes from a distance, his cloudy gaze fixed intently on me, his mouth opened, silently murmuring, "My dear girl." It reminds me of my childhood, deep in my memories, when a man once lifted me high above his head. Just for a moment, I averted my gaze. Below the stage, my mother watched me with tears of happiness and excitement. I also smiled contentedly. The person I care about most is by my side. That's enough. Everyone else doesn't matter. After hearing the two stories above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Looking forward to hearing from you. If you liked this story, don't forget to like it, share it, and subscribe to my channel. See you next time.